Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Gloucester School Committee on Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. I'd like to remind everybody that our mission statement is every day matters, everybody belongs, and every student learns. So, and with that, again, I'd like to welcome everybody tonight, and we'll open up with a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you. Oral communications. Anybody present tonight or online? Maybe if you could on the online. Yes, is welcome to speak. And when you rise to speak, we have the podium set up. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address. And at about 2 minutes and 50 seconds, we'll let you know when you're running out of time. So please feel free.
Thank you for allowing us to speak with you this evening.
Name and address, please.
I'll give it to you in a second. About some concerns we have regarding school transportation. I'm Reverend Alice Erickson, and I am with Barbara Kaplan. I live at 41 Folly Point Road in Gloucester. Lanesville, exactly. We represent a small group of volunteers who have been providing transportation this year for 3 elementary school children from 2 families who live in downtown Gloucester. They live 1.3 miles from East Veterans Memorial Elementary School. We understand that for the past 2 years, there have not been enough drivers to provide transportation for all the families in our school district who need it. We would like the school committee to describe at some point the progress that has been made in the past year to address this problem. We are especially concerned about the elementary school children for whom transportation is not available. Specifically, children who cannot walk safely on their own to school and whose parents are unable to provide transportation for a variety of reasons. If the school district is able to hire more bus drivers, will it consider providing transportation to families with special circumstances? Families whose children desperately need transportation to school, but do not qualify to ride a school bus because they live within the 1.5 mile radius of their school. And finally, what alternatives have been considered by GPS to address this problem of getting our children to school safely? Thank you for your consideration.
Apologies for not allowing you to state your Lanesville address. Thank you very much.
Accepted. There's.
Anybody else? There's online. Okay. Wait, please.
One here too.
Okay, why don't we take one of the.
My name is Anne-Marie Stackos. I am a teacher at Gloucester High School. I am here to bring to your attention the issue of tuition reimbursement for the 23-24 school year. I'm sure that some of you may know about this issue already, but because we still haven't been reimbursed, I felt the need to speak tonight. Although some may say this is an issue with the city, reimbursement is in our contract. Under Article 23, Section C, it states all reimbursement for approved courses will be distributed in September. We are now well into March and still haven't received our payment. I had taken classes both in the summer and the fall of 2023 and submitted all the documentation needed for reimbursement on time. A colleague of mine emailed the central office about this issue on January 17th, 2025, and was told that the city was waiting on documentation from some teachers and that the checks would be out either late January or early February. I emailed on February 19th, 2025, to ask about our contractual reimbursement, as we have been told next month, next month, next month for a while now. I was told that they were still waiting on documentation from a few teachers, and we should have our checks by the end of February, beginning of March. Yesterday, we received an email from central office saying that the city is still waiting on some people's documentation, and an email would be sent out to those people by the end of the day yesterday. I then received a second email stating that I still needed to submit proof of payment for my 2 classes. Knowing I had done this on time, I checked the Frontline website where we have to submit all documentation for reimbursement, class approval, and both were there and submitted on June 30th, 2024. This is before the deadline. Also, this is the first time in almost 2 years that anybody has contacted me about needing that documentation. I have talked to a few other people in my building that have had the same issue where they submitted documentation and then was told that they did not and still needed it. I'm not sure why this is an issue when the documentation was submitted to the proper place on time, but if central office didn't have it, why are people just being notified now? And if this is a city concern, I ask Mr. Mayor to help us find an answer to this. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Without objection, I'd like to refer that to our meeting at being up next week to receive a report on what's going on, why the city's involved.
Yep.
Thank you.
Working on it and happy that. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
My name is Amber Tells, and I live in Lanesville.
Well done.
Yes, I'm very close to you. So to the elected members of the Gloucester School Committee, Superintendent Lomas and Assistant Superintendent Amy Pasquarello, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to the committee. I have been a teacher in the Gloucester Public Schools since 2003, was a former Gloucester Public Schools student, and I am also a resident of Gloucester. I taught 20 years of my teaching career at the former East Gloucester Elementary School, where I also worked with those entire 20 years with my esteemed colleagues, Renee Pierce and Judy Doyle, and also a few years with Eileen German. I then continued to work with both Renee and Judy during our very difficult first year at East Veterans Elementary. Today, I am speaking on their behalf, as well as the other retired ESPs that deserve their retro pay for their tireless years of service to the Gloucester Public Schools. The message is simple. These women made a lasting impact on our schools. And I feel teary just because they mean so much to me, so just bear with me. I worked alongside Renee and Judy every day, and I watched how their roles transformed from classroom assistants to interventionists. And even as those roles dramatically changed, they arrived to work each day with smiles, ready to help any child in need. I would like you to know that Renee is one of the most gifted reading interventionists this district has ever seen. And Judy can truly turn any struggling math student into a confident mathematician. But even more importantly, these women made the children they worked with feel safe, cared for, and loved. And for some of these students, Renee or Judy became their one person at school, the one who truly made the child feel like school was a place they wanted to be. I am requesting an amendment to our original agreement, which unfortunately has done great harm to these educators, as well as to our teaching community as a whole, and to the community of people who have been touched by the efforts of these incredible women. This action on your part, if you could help us write an amendment so that they can get their retro pay, will really help us walk down the path of healing and progress. We'd really like to work together. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
We're gonna finish. We'll finish up here. Ready?
Good evening, I'm Rich Francis. I'm a longtime social studies teacher at GHS. Tonight, I'd like to discuss an issue that lies at the heart of our community's future, the strength of our civic education. As residents of a city experiencing rapid demographic and development changes, We must ensure our young people are not only informed about the world, but also equipped with the civic knowledge and values necessary to lead it. With the dismantling of the Department of Education that we are seeing, it is more important than ever that we invest in strengthening civics education, because our democracy thrives on active, informed citizens. Yet in many parts of our nation, including our own community, civic education has been relegated to a minimal role that checks off a box for the state. This underinvestment not only leaves our youth uninformed about their government institutions, their rights and responsibilities, but also ill-prepared to engage with genuine civic challenges. One transformative step we can take starts in our high school. For years, I've been advocating that we require a fourth year, or at least 3.5 years, of social studies education for every student. Such a commitment would allow our young citizens to delve deeper into history, government, economics, and a real understanding of issues that affect us all, making connections between events and their consequences in their own lives. With a solid social studies foundation, students aren't just learning facts, they're learning to analyze, debate, and understand the forces that shape their communities and the world at large, as well as be able to sift through the misinformation and disinformation that is ubiquitous in our lives. Mr. Mayor, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with the 3A zoning petition and where that might have played a role. But our efforts must not stop in high school. For a truly informed citizenry, civic education must be a carefully coordinated journey from kindergarten through 12th grade, vertical alignment that builds on each year's lessons, starting with basic concepts of community and cooperation in early elementary school, and gradually integrating more complex political, historical, and ethical discussions as students grow. We can create a continuous framework of civic-minded learning. This alignment ensures that by the time our students graduate, they don't just know about civic processes in theory, they live them in practice and understand their critical role and active participants in society. Imagine a community where every citizen, regardless of age or background, understands the workings of government, is aware of their rights and responsibilities, and is well versed in the historical struggles that have secured the freedoms we often take for granted. This vision is within our reach if we prioritize comprehensive civics education. Together, let's championship this change so that our youth, our future leaders, right there, receive the education they deserve, a solid foundation built on well-organized, progressive civic learning that prepares them to make informed, thoughtful decisions in our evolving democracy. As John Locke, possibly the most influential philosopher for this country's founder, stated, liberty is sustained by the vigilance of an informed populace. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Grant, a first grade teacher at West Parish School, a parent of a fourth grade choice student at West Parish, and a member of the Union of Gloucester Educators. I know Amber just spoke about this just moments ago, and you've heard about this at every school committee meeting since December. But it matters so much to us, which is why we keep bringing it up. Pay our 6 retired paras. I mean, think about it, 400 give or take union members. None of us benefit from you paying them. I don't gain anything, except the knowledge that you care about all of us. It's the right thing to do. In last week's meeting, there was a lot of talk of mending fences and fixing things. Don't you see that this small gesture goes a long way in that process? It's a very small price to pay to show your staff that you care about them. Amend the contract. We'll be there at the table with you to do it. It's never too late to do the right thing. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else in tonight's audience? No? Let's go to, we have 2 people online, looks like,
Heidi Wakeman.
yeah, Heidi Wakeman?
Hi,
Please
good
state-
evening. Yep,
David.
hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Hi, my name's Heidi Wakeman. I live at 7 Wise Place in Gloucester. And I thank you for your service to the people and educational community of our town. I speak tonight regarding the new presidential administration, in particular, the executive order declaring English as the official national language, signed March 7th. I speak tonight as founder of Justice, Just Informed Concerned Educators, and as a teacher of exploratory middle school Spanish at O'Malley. On March 12th, ACTFL Connects, which is the National Council for Language Educators, issued a statement co-signed by 12 regional language education groups, including from Massachusetts. ACTFL President Milton Allen Turner notes, designating English as an official language is intended to have a chilling effect on speakers of other languages. We should be affirming the multilingual heritage of our country and ensuring that all citizens and residents can fully participate in society. Official English almost always equals English only. The statement continues, while there is little doubt that English proficiency is valuable for communication and economic opportunity, policies that formally elevate one language at the expense of others fail to recognize the rich linguistic diversity that has long been a strength of our nation. To designate English as the official language sends a message that certain communities are less valued, which is both divisive and counterproductive. I am grateful for the steps you have all taken to provide instructions regarding ICE and potential family separation in our schools. I am grateful for the increase in hiring faculty and staff to serve our multilingual families. I am grateful for the technology that allows documents to be translated and conferences to occur between monolingual parties. I'm asking you tonight to consider standing up for our vulnerable populations, families of mixed immigration statuses, LGBTQ+ families, and yes, I said all of the letters, and to consider making a statement of conscience against this action. I'm asking you to consider the facts of history and the multilingualism of both our country and our city, and to take a stand. I'm asking you to consider what it means to teach in a time when words and identities are erased and we can't be political in our classrooms. Elie Wiesel wrote in his 1986 Nobel Peace Prize speech, I swore never to be silent whenever and wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. There are plenty of museums, history books, and videos that illuminate the courage of those who took a stand, who spoke out against authoritarianism.
15 seconds, Heidi.
I chaperoned the 8th grade to 2 of them last June. How will we be remembered in the future looking back at this time? Thank you again for your service and for your courage.
Marianne Boucher.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
You can.
Thank you, Marianne Albert Boucher, 93 Mount Pleasant Avenue. In regards to what Amber tells and the other woman, Jennifer Grant, I think her name was, regarding the retirees, I'd ask you to get your paper and your pencil out right now and take this date down. I am known to write notes of the meetings that I attend. I've been taking notes for many, many years. If you go to 4:14:21 and you go to the 2-hour, 53-minute mark and about 29 seconds, Kathy Clancy, you ask the council to recognize the retirees. You ask them with a smile. You tell how valuable the retirees are. If that holds true today, then why are we not recognizing them as we should? Like I said before, hundreds and the amount of hours these women have put in is just, or years, has just been incredible. And you're sending such a negative message to your entire staff throughout the city. I mean, what more can these people say? It's disheartening. It's very disheartening. But I ask you to go to April 14th, 2021, 2-hour, 53-minute mark. Who's talking? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, we lost you just for a second.
We can't hear you now. You're muted, Marianne.
Marianne, you're muted.
I don't know who muted me.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're back.
Now you're back.
Thank you. I would ask again that you go to the April 14th, 2021 past meeting of the school committee where Kathy Clancy highly speaks of the retired teachers and how she wants to make sure they are recognized. Let us recognize these teachers in March of 2025 by showing them the full respect they deserve. Do as Amber tells and this other woman, Jennifer, asks, and a lot of other people, recognize them by paying them for the work that they've already done. That amount of money is not going to shut down your schools. You know that. I looked at a $1,500 bill to clean the superintendent's office during the strike. For custodial services. Maybe it was overtime custodial services.
15 seconds.
Seriously, pay the teachers. They deserve it, and the paras. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
Mine.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments tonight, and no comment from the chair tonight, but we would like to get into recognition. Does anyone have any recognitions they'd like to bring forth?
I know it's in the superintendent's report, but Descendants, we all know O'Malley's incredible production, 6 shows, more than 130 kids, many staff, parents, family members. It was phenomenal. And I commend everyone who was involved in that production, from kids and staff and parents to tech crew and everyone else. Just a big congratulations to everyone.
Second. I'd like to recognize the speaker that we had last night here at the high school, Caleb Joseph. He did a terrific job. He talked about anxiety and a bunch of issues that students face nowadays. My big takeaway was everything you want in life is on the other side of vulnerability, and it seemed to be a pretty ring true amongst a lot of the students. So really appreciate the people that were involved in bringing him here. I think it was the PFAA, Board of Health, and I'm not sure the third one, but really a heartfelt presentation. And the Rochelle School.
I
I should have known that. Thanks. So just want to recognize Caleb and the presentation. Anybody else? Okay. We're thankful tonight to have the GHS Student Advisory Council, and get to hear from Taya Mano and
I'm Dylan Smith.
Dylan Smith. All right, so
Do you want us to go up there? Or you want us?
I think you guys can stay right there.
Okay.
It's pretty comfortable over there.
All right. So good evening, everybody. My name is Dylan Smith. I'm a senior. I'm also the secretary of our executive board. And here to share some news about the high school. So next Monday, we have reached the halfway point of term 3. It's crazy, but as the term continues, NHS students attend Monday and Wednesday credit recovery sessions to tutor and help students complete their assignments. Also today, we had a Marina Day at the auto shop, and they hosted a successful career fair consisting of 7 marinas, 2 harbor masters, and 1 boat. And over 100 students went through and learned about the opportunities for summer employment. Also, for the month of March, we all students in our high school will compete for our March Madness attendance. So whatever grade has the best attendance through March gets a catered breakfast for the prize. So last year our grade won, so we gotta hold our title. But also for DECA, the GHS DECA had a successful state career development conference in Boston, where 5 teams were finalists and 1 team was and qualified for International Career Development Conference on April 26th in Orlando. So Isla Black, Jefferson DeCarmo, and Julian Nixon will be attending the conference to meet. Also for our GHS Theater, this past Saturday, the GHS Theater program hosted a theater celebration, and students in the cast and crew of Make 'em Laugh were able to present their show for an audience and receive feedback from the sessions. Several of the members were recognized with All-Star Awards, and the spring musical James 19th will be on April 10th, 11th, and 12th. So their tickets will be online and at the door. And for the last thing, our GHS Interact Club is hosting their pizza taste off on April 9th at the Cruise Court. So all of our proceeds for that goes to the American Cancer Society. So from 5 to 7, so it'd be awesome to see everybody down there. And yeah, you can purchase tickets at the court. That's all I got. And
Did you leave anything for her or?
she's got a lot to do as well.
Okay.
A lot of news. So yeah, I'm Taya Mano. I'm also senior. I'm the treasurer of e-board. So I'm gonna take over the news continued. So for the freshman class, last Monday, class of 2028 had a successful restaurant night at Jalapenos for a fundraiser. Jalapenos said they haven't seen that type of crowd, especially on the weekday. So they also had a successful night and we're happy to help the class. And this Friday, March 14th, NHS will be hosting the second blood drive of the year. eBoard runs the blood drive and all students from student council and NHS members volunteer during one block of the school day to support and help blood donors. Back in December, we had a successful blood drive and we hope to have as many, if not more students and faculty donate blood to the Red Cross. Sorry. So, and then also next week on Thursday, March 20th, NHS seniors will be inducting the entering NHS members into the Sherman B. Ruth chapter of the National Honor Society. Additionally, as the year is beginning to wrap up, NHS members are finishing their tutoring and volunteer hours. Also on Sunday, March 23rd from 11 to 2, Gloucester Education Foundation is putting on their annual Power Play in the GHS Fieldhouse, which is always a lot of fun. This is directly mostly towards elementary age kids, but toddlers and teens are welcome as well. Kids can take part in educational games, crafts, and experiments. Lastly, the GHS Music Department is presenting its seasonally confused coffee house. It's at the Alps, March 27th at 7 p.m. Performances by jazz band, chorus, and supported soloists will be included. Proceeds from this event will be donated directly to GHS family recently displaced by a house fire on Washington Street. Several other GHS student organizations will be raising money for those affected by recent fires and for another community member who's battling cancer. So that's all you've with us for tonight.
Thank you very much. Terrific job. Appreciate you coming in today. You're more than welcome to stay throughout the next 3 hours of school committee meeting, but. You may want to move. Thanks for coming.
Go have a good evening.
For yourself, John.
Good job.
Everybody share.
Have a fun.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? That includes approval of meeting minutes, approval of the warrants, approval of transfers, referrals, and acceptance of donations.
Right, I was gonna say so. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second? Second. Roll call vote.
Mr. McKee.
Yes.
Ms. Prince.
Yes.
Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Verga,
Yes.
Mr. Minio,
Yes.
Chair Clancy.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is deliberations of education issues and the superintendent's report. There we go.
So, good evening, folks. This is for our presentation. Good to see you. We're gonna change things up a little bit, but let's get going here. Trying to find the right button. Here we go. Okay. We say in the Gloucester Public Schools, everybody matters. Everybody belongs. And every student learns. That's a new addition.
Yes.
Not a new addition to what we do that every day, but just a new addition to the tagline, so to speak. We are looking for some more photos, new photos here, because right now, the Everybody Matters and the Every Student Learns photos are the same, so people are welcome to send in more photos, all right? We're working on that. We're changing it up a little bit, so we're gonna start with Food Service Director Wendy Ng, giving her annual update. Wendy does have to go to a class at 7:30, so she'll be quick and welcome questions, but just keep that in mind, please, okay? I want to make sure she gets to her class, right? Right. I'll click the slides. Wendy, welcome.
Hi, my name is Wendy Ng. I am the food service director. This is my second year at Gloucester Public Schools and fourth year as a food service director in Massachusetts. Just some quick facts. I am multilingual. I know 5 languages. When I joined Gloucester and learned that there was a high Brazilian population, I self-taught myself Portuguese. And I even went to Brazil by myself. That's the picture I took of Copacabana Beach. And my class at 7:30 is actually Portuguese class. And it's been very fun because I get to interact with the kids. I remember there's one boy, he said to me, "You are the very first adult here that spoke to me in Portuguese." And that made my day. And another 2 quick facts, I am a commissioner on the School Meals Nutrition Standard Commission, appointed by Governor Healy. And I am also a board member on the Board of Registered Dietitians. Today is actually Registered Dietitian Day.
Yeah.
So a little recap of last year. Because I was new, I was mainly focused on building relationships with the staff and the students. And I was able to engage with the students to learn about their different preferences, incorporating different cultural meals in the menus. And I transferred our food service department into a new purchasing collaborative. And I'm currently on the bid committee for that, which helps decipher which vendors we use for the following school year. And at the top, it's the total meals we served last school year. Breakfast and lunch. These are some pictures from the Gloucester High School. The hamburger is actually 100% grass fed from Walden Farms, because we had a contract with them. And then the pizza is the different types that they make at the high school. So every year, school nutrition has an annual conference, and this past year, it was actually in Boston and I was a speaker. About 6,000 attendees from all over the world come. And we have 3 days of educational sessions about school nutrition, how we can get the best price for our bids, how to incorporate different meals, or how to deal with food allergies, how to run a food service program. So I presented about Gloucester and how I use this shifting towards equity in school meals model. And I basically discussed my approach to learning Portuguese, interacting with the students during the cafeteria, asking what they want to see on the menus, and how to build that community for the students. This is just a little quick overview of the meal counts from last year. And this year, the price at the top shows the reimbursable amount. So every meal that we serve for breakfast, we get back $2.84 from the federal government. And because Massachusetts is one of the 8 states that provide free meals for all, the federal government will reimburse us for a portion and the state picks up the other half.
Just want to point out that these are really different numbers between last year and this year, right? And
Yes.
take credit for this. What do you attribute that? So, and also just to point out that, of course, we had 10 fewer school days in November. So the numbers that are, the bottom numbers for this is for breakfast, are ahead of last year, even though we have fewer school days at this point at the end of January. And then Lunch as well?
This is lunch. For every lunch we serve, we get back $4.57. As you can see, lunch counts have gone way up as well, and that the factors that attribute to that is just listening to the students in the cafeteria. And I can show you some pictures after this. And in terms of looking ahead, USDA has released new meal standards for our programs. The school lunch and breakfast program is actually the most, we have the most policies and requirements that we have to follow. So for example, they are limiting added sugars in school meals. So for added sugars, like breakfast cereals cannot be more than 6 grams per ounce. And yogurt cannot be more than 12 grams per 6 ounce. So I've been trying to incorporate different breakfast items in our menu to start following these standards, even though they are not in place yet. That's just an example of one of the standards. This is an example of the fresh corn we got at O'Malley. And potatoes we got at East Veterans. They made hash browns with it and the corn. The kids were really excited. I heard kids scream, "Oh my God, there's corn." So that was pretty cool to hear. This is just salads at the high school and the different types of fresh fruit we use throughout our district. We do get an entitlement plan from DESE, which allows me to allocate a certain amount of money to buying fresh produce, buying government food, and using commodities. So I put a lot of money in fresh fruit and vegetables because I want to see kids more excited about eating them. So this is just another way to provide that. These are examples of meals that we give preschool. And it's mostly finger food, but it's colorful and different, and the preschools love them. It's also some of the lunch boxes that we provided in November. This is at East Vets on the day where we were short staffed, and I made all these lunch boxes. Again, it's different, and it's for preschool. We have, the pretzels, the hummus, and peppers. And the kids really like the fresh vegetables. This is something I introduced to O'Malley. It is an acai bowl. So in the Brazilian culture, acai is it's a popular food. And acai is basically a type of fruit that is grown in Brazil. And here we use it as smoothie bowls. And if you go out to buy one at a restaurant or something, it's like $15. But here our students get it for free. And the students were so excited about it. I have some kids that literally knock on my door and ask when the next time we're gonna have this on the menu. So that was exciting, and we used, again, the fresh produce of strawberries from the DOD. And this is just an example of other things. We did a ramen noodles. It's whole grain ramen made specifically for schools. We do a chicken wing bar where the kids have different sauces that they can pick. And we just try different things with the rice and beans, and we have plantains, and mix it up with just a bunch of sauces. And that's it.
Any questions? Bring this down. So people can see. Oh, can I go first?
Judge.
Want to go first, Mayor?
Sure, they don't ask the same question. So we've come a long way from the bacon burgers that I used to have at Gloucester Public Schools, and so some of you remember those. But Robert Kennedy's been very critical. Before he took his new position about lunches, and I'm sure he's going to continue. This certainly is an eye opener I think to the general public and myself, it doesn't look like, that mystery meat that was so famous in cafeterias all over the country. So what do you attribute this to? Is there more of a choice for us to get food for the kids than just open a box of government supplied food and, eat it up?
In terms of options and stuff, I think it depends on the food service director and the district, if they have a food service company or not. So like in Gloucester, we're self-op, so I get to make the decisions. So when I get our entitlement from DESI, I am able to allocate what money I want to the different buckets. And I allocated most of my money to the fresh produce and fresh fruits and vegetables. So it's all based on the food service director.
Well, sounds like we picked the right one. Carl?
So I have a couple of things. One, I've already heard about the acai bowls. I have in my home. And I have also heard that the elementary would like that too.
I'm working on it.
But I mean, literally, I just heard about this the other day, how important this is. So thank you. And I'm lucky enough to sit on the wellness committee with you, so I've been learning a lot of stuff about how this all works. One thing I just want to say is this is amazing. And I'm hoping that as part of this, there can also be some more things without meat at every level. Because your menus are great and like so much better. And though for those who aren't eating so much meat, they're a little hard sometimes. So not that you haven't done, like, these are amazing. And I know, like, anyway, I just want to say, like, that's something that's also desirable. And thank you for adding so much, for putting so much attention to fresh fruits and vegetables. I think, Backyard Growers started that work. And to have our food service director doing it is really amazing.
I'm working on the vegetarian options. I do remember you said your child likes grilled cheese.
Yes.
So every time I put that on, I think of him. But another, like edamame, I put edamame on the menu every week,
Yes, you do.
almost every month. And I've never seen kids get so excited about edamame. Like I didn't know what an edamame was when I was in elementary school. So I'm.
And just the last part, I just saw that the federal government just stopped the program that's gonna allow, the program that was allowing farmers to sell to, right, is that gonna impact?
No.
Okay.
I learned, I think from you, when we first hired you, that the cereal that we serve at school, and let's just say Cheerios, to use an example, is different than the Cheerios you buy in the supermarket. Can you talk about, I didn't know that, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I still tell anybody who will listen to me about that. Because it doesn't make sense to me that in schools you can get healthier cereal than on the shelves. But are there other foods that we serve that fall into that category of less sugar because it's being sold to a school as opposed to what is being sold to the general public?
There are a lot of vendors out there that their main focus is on K-12. And because K-12, we have so many regulations on what we can serve, we are basically their customers. So things like yogurt, we have a company called Upstate Yogurt, and they do low sugar yogurts for K-12. Like Lay's, they make Doritos, like Cheetos, everything 100% whole grain. And it's different from the ones that you get in the store. So it's just these different vendors that their niche customers are basically us.
It just amazes me that we care about our children, and I'm happy that the schools are getting the healthier version. It just, I'm at a loss for words as to why the general public shouldn't have access to that same food. Like, why aren't we all eating whole grain Doritos? As opposed to just having it in the schools, and do parents realize that if their child comes home with Doritos from school, they're actually healthier than the ones that they're buying in the store, right? So that communication, I think, gets lost. But I think it's important, and I just hope that going forward with whatever's going on in the world, that we all have healthier choices in food. And just want to commend you, you're doing an excellent job. Listening to the kids is huge. And which makes them, you know, want to work with you and talk more about their requests for food. But it's phenomenal what you've done to the program over the past year or two that you've been here. Because the kids are eating more, and that was always one of our goals, was to get more food out. So thank you.
Kathy?
You can't hear you, Kathy.
You're muted.
Okay, got it. So Wendy is physically present because I can tell you're looking over,
Yes.
but her camera's off, and I would love the public to see our food service director. So we can definitely give her accolades, and people could see her and give her accolades if they happen to run into her while they're in the schools. I too, you know, the progress you've made in a short time is simply just remarkable. And every bit of the offerings you show, I know people have been asking, at least at the high school, they've been asking for more choices. I think parents probably at the lower levels would be asking, not necessarily the kids. And my only question is, are you seeing a similar increase both at, you know, at elementary, middle, and high? Like, has it been consistent in terms of new offerings and more students taking advantage of eating at school?
I definitely see more of an increase in the elementary and definitely in the middle school. But the high school has still been kind of plateaued a little bit. I don't know why that is, but I am looking to incorporate different things on the menu to change it a bit up.
Excellent. Great job. Great job.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for coming in. Sorry I couldn't be there to say hi in person, but I got a question about how you divide your time and to keep on top of the various school buildings themselves. Do you spend time in, like, say, like, you know, going through the elementary schools? How do you prioritize that? I mean, to keep on top of what's going on in each school. I'm just curious.
Usually I try to check in with each school weekly, and get to all the schools. But in the morning, like when they're doing prep, I'll do like more of the admin work that I need to do. And in the afternoon, when it's lunchtime, I'll be in the kitchens with the staff or in the cafeteria with the students. So it's a bit of a balancing act to try to get to all the schools.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, I keep focusing on that a few years ago, the prior food service director, her office was at district office, and then she moved her office to O'Malley, and that's where Wendy's office is. It's at O'Malley, right in the kitchen cafeteria complex.
Oh, that's a wonderful change. I think that's great. Then you're in a centralized location. And then do you have people you can delegate to, like assistants?
I do not. I do everything myself. And all the bids, the invoices, the vendors, the orders, everything.
So that's just because that's the sort of administrative and business side of it. Ordering, then of course, the food service managers are the ones who you delegate to at the schools, obviously. So I'm not sure if you know the structure, but can you just talk about the structure of the staff?
Basically, I have 6 managers at each school, and each manager has their own staff. And I do have a driver that helps me bring around food if, you know, one school is missing something that they didn't get in their order and another school needs something. So it's a big help. So in total, I have about 30-something staff.
Okay. And I guess my last, go ahead. Sorry, Ben.
Sorry. And then the preschool meals are made at East Veterans, right?
Yes, the preschool meals come out of East Vets.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Keith, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to get all my questions in, but I appreciate your comments, Ben. I really do. Whole milk. We don't have an offering for that? I happen to speak to my son. He does not like reduced fat milk. I mean, he would drink the regular milk, but he opts for the chocolate milk because he can't stand like reduced fat? I mean, is that the only option we can have? I wondered.
In terms of milk, whole milk is only required to be served to kids under 4. And because I have a certain amount I need to order from the vendors, it's just in terms of cost and waste, it's better just to order more 1%.
Right, yeah, so, yeah, Wendy, I'll have to say, I used to do a lot of purchasing orders for a music venue I used to work at, so I understand minimum orders. I'll say that, and perishable goods for that matter. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So just one thing is also, I just want to talk about the food service staff, and Wendy can chime in here, because she knows and works so much closely more closely than I do, but in addition to Wendy's leadership and change that have come is working very closely with the food service managers and then the managers working their cooks to institute the changes. So it's much more preparation of fresh foods and stuff. But if you can speak to that, just how the managers and the food service workers play a big role in carrying this all out.
Well, my work ethic is if I ask somebody to do something, I should know how to do it too. So I am in the kitchens, working side by side with the food service staff. I'm helping them prepare things, I help them cut up the fruit, the vegetables. So I think because they're seeing that I'm doing it too, they're more likely to do it as well. And when they see like the kids enjoy it and most of it is gone by the end of the day, it says something.
Also, just to add to that is many of our food service workers, especially most of our managers, have been here for quite some time serving Gloucester and our students. And I always really appreciate checking in with them on occasion because they really, the act of feeding someone and cooking, preparing and feeding someone is a real act of love. And they certainly, it's just so clear they know the students, they know the students' challenges and their successes, they celebrate them, but they're a really, really good big part of our school and our school community. And it's just so clear that they really do love and enjoy being with our students, but so many of them have been working for a long time. It's real credit to them. So their work and also Wendy's leadership. So thank you.
Thank you. As you can tell, Wendy, we have completely disregarded the superintendent's request to limit our questions and comments.
It's okay.
Led by the superintendent, and
Make it to your class.
so we're going to be maybe late for your class.
No, that's.
Appreciate you coming with us, joining us tonight and giving us the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Wendy.
Carry on. So, a lot of updates from around the schools. A number of them are already shared, so I can go through some of those a little more quickly. But it's a busy time of year right now. A lot's going on in our school, as always does, but things are really there's just a lot of noteworthy things going on. Power play. A number of folks already said that. The high school students gave a fantastic update report today, so they covered a lot of this. I just want to remind the community that Power Play is coming again, thanks to GEF, thanks to all the high school volunteers who help out. It's a huge popular community event, and it really is just a signal and an example of how we can learn through play. I'll talk about it in a little moment about how the preschoolers learn through play, and this is a way that all children of all ages, including adults, can come out and enjoy learning chemistry and science and music and all sorts of things, physics, lots of ways to learn and play with each other. So, O'Malley updates. So as Squeeze talked about, Descendants was the last 2 weekends. It's fantastic performance. I think one of the best I've seen from O'Malley. Really impressive. The ensemble numbers had such great spirit. Also, was tremendous spirit between the cast that were in the back of the house, waiting or watching, and those who are performing at those moments. They're just such great supports to them. But really appreciate our staff who work on this since the summertime, all through the fall. It's a lot of time and effort, and his hands were just fantastic. I included this photo. It's a photo I took actually when I went because I wanted us to capture a little bit. This is after the performance. What happens after performance is families are able to come up on stage and take photos with their children or their family members. I tried to capture just the sense of sort of community and energy and happiness that goes on around these performances. Among families, they're just thrilled to see their students grow this way and perform this way. It was such a nice sort of moment, community moment. Actually, there were 6 of them, so there were 6 nice community moments. So just wanted to try to capture that for folks. This is a great, another happening at O'Malley. So this is Ocean House celebrating multiple sclerosis awareness month. And that does teachers Brittany McGrail and Alex Anderson are using MS Awareness Month to help their students learn about multiple sclerosis. Alex Anderson, who also is living with MS, and she shared her story to make it a very personal story about MS and living with MS. But it also has helped. They're really using it as an opportunity to help kids think about empathy and learning about the perspective of others. And all the students, you can see them there. They made the orange ribbons and picked words that describe someone who's living with MS. And some of the words that they picked were brave and perseverance and humbling and uplifting and resilient. Just great ways to describe those folks who are living with MS. And then also one of the key messages is, and this is a great and appropriate message for middle school students especially, is you never know what someone is going through. You never want to judge a book by its cover. Really, and that is only with any illness, but in so many different ways, they're talking about how that fits for them and people they know. So just really, that's why I do have an orange pin on and an orange tie as well to support Alex and Brittany at Ocean House and MS Awareness Month. So little kudos to to all of Ocean House there at 7th grade at O'Malley. West Parish Pi Day is coming up, 14. 3.141569, that sort of thing, that sort of pi. Is coming up on 14. Also, West Parish is celebrating Read Across America Day. They're having a number of guest readers there this week, including, I think, the mayor, perhaps Mr. Melvin, the others, I'm not sure. Their child study team is meeting most Thursdays. That's how they identify and help discuss students to sort of learn about if some students may need some extra additional support. And they're working on their March Madness Math Fluency Challenge. Grades 2 and 3 are. So the students can participate by practicing math fact fluency games, activities with adults at home. So they're helping families know how to support their students with math fluency through play again. And then they have a chance to win some prizes through raffles. Beeman updates. So the Beeman Historical Leadership Team has been doing a great job of learning walks. And their learning walks have focused on student engagement. And they have really taken a sort of a great progression on this. They learn about it at staff meetings and team meetings. Their instructional leadership team is working on it at that level. And then they go in the classroom and take visits to each classroom and learning about strategies that will help students be more engaged, students move towards driving their education. So that's really going well. I think they've completed 2 chunks of learning walks. And they're also closing out their readathon this week. So and they had a virtual author visit from Josh Funk. There he is right there. So who's an author and I think illustrator as well. So great to not only highlight how important reading is and how enjoyable it is, but also get a real professional writer in there to help students learn. Plum Cove is also celebrating Read Across America Day. They also hosted the Wingmaster, who brought live raptors and owls and other animals to visit the students. And that's something they've done the past every other year, I think about. And that's hosted by their PTO, sponsored by the PTO, which is great. They're also their teachers are working on professional learning communities. And peer observations and learning walks. And in those learning walks, they're focusing on the questions, what are 3 positive takeaways from the lesson you observed? What takeaway could you bring back to your own classroom? Another example of how our teachers work together to learn, help each other, support each other, and work on improving instruction. And then also the Plum Cove students are participating in the Sawyer Free Library's annual poetry without paper contest, which goes on for April 30th. East Veterans 4th graders are starting a social studies unit on the 50 states. And they're looking for postcards from all 50 states. They're looking for contributions or people to share those with them. But they're trying to get postcards that represent all 50 states. They're also recognizing March as Women's History Month and have a great presentation and display up in the library there. And as part of this display, they were asked to add women in their lives who are inspiring. And so far, students have added a mom, a friend, and an actress. And there's also Pi Day, it's gonna be celebrated at East Veterans, and nobody does it quite like East Veterans. They have a Pi Day competition, which the student who recites the most digits from Pi, from memory, gets the Pi Day crown, and then they have a parade. Ethan Kohler, fifth grader last year, set the record of 236 digits.
Oh, wow.
And that is the record there.
That's impressive.
That's 236 digits, which is a lot of digits, but he recited this all from memory. I don't know if someone does that, but it's pretty remarkable. Wow.
I don't think that can be neat.
Right, we'll find out. This Friday is the Pi Day competition, East Veterans, and we'll find out. Folks are really preparing hard, and they get a pizza party for their grade if they win, so the students pay close attention. Gloucester Preschool, so they enjoyed another visit from Backyard Growers recently, and the students enjoyed tasting sweet potato mousse. I've never had before. That sounds good. And also the students are using Legos during center time. Just one of the many ways that they use play as part of and play means developing hand-eye coordination, fine motor skills, and cooperative play skills. You'll hear a little bit later teachers playing with Legos, so to speak. More on that. As Mr. Melvin talked about last night, Caleb Joseph, who's a former Division I basketball player at Syracuse University, gave a really profound and moving, and that's a very thought-provoking presentation last night. To a lot of students from high school and some staff, parents. I was fortunate enough to be there, see his presentation, and really talked about the importance of emotional intelligence for athletes and others, any kids growing up and all adults who are working through adversity and building a fulfilling life. He had a bunch of really important messages. I want to highlight two. One Mr. Melvin already did, which is everything you want in life is on the other side of vulnerability. What I take from that is if you really want to get the fullness of life, you need to put yourself out there and be vulnerable and make steps that you may probably be a little hesitant about. That goes for leaders as well. So it's something we've actually talked about among our leadership team about being leaders as being vulnerable. Because as we saw last night, that helps other folks step up. The other message was about identifying, processing, and managing your feelings. He talks so much about the fact that we're always going to have challenging and difficult times in our life. And if we can learn to identify what we're feeling, why, process it to understand why we're feeling that, and then manage our feelings, we'll be able to get through those difficult times on our own and with others. So just really appreciate the Gloucester Fishermen Athletic Association and the Gloucester Health Department for Amy Cam and also Rory Gentile, our high school English teacher, Rory Gentile, for making it all possible. So really appreciate his message to our students. It's something that I think they're going to take with them for many years. National Arts Honor Society induction happened March 6th. We had 11th grade inductees and 12th grade inductees. The artwork is still down there in the hallway at the end of the guidance hallway. And you can see from 11th grade, Cassie Koptoski, Esme Saruk, Madison Jewell, Cunningham, Miley Town, Belia Rin, and Miyaka Friday all were inducted. And then from 12th grade, Julia Carancho, Kate Cooper, Beatrix Brosnahan, Violet Marchant, Cassidy Ponce, Noah Poulin, Natalie Sheedy, Sawyer Town, Marley Workmunch, Chloe Young, Vincenzo Cimitaro, Alexis Thomas, Lee Taylor, Maddie Battle, Catherine Aaron, Vanessa Lieberman, Lauren Sargent, and Dylan Picano. These are very, very skilled artists. I'm really pleased about their work. It's really inspiring. It's really impressive. And a lot of it's downstairs to review, and just really appreciate our high school arts teachers, visual art teachers. So Helen Duncan, Lorena Cerruti, and oh my gosh, she's gonna kill me. Emily Hardy. Emily Hardy. Thank you. Sorry, Emily. But just and their leadership in putting this together, just really honoring our talent. So thank you to our 3 high school arts teachers, visual arts teachers. DECA competes at state conference in Boston. So we already heard about their great accomplishments at the state conference. And Julian Nixon, Belia Rin, and Kira O'Brien are heading off to Orlando in April for the International Career Development Conference. Something that's a regular occurrence. Our folks, our DECA students, continue to go back, do well at the state conference, and then also a number of them always proceed to the international conference. I was at City Hall recently and ran out to the mayor's office. It's a great display put on by our high school students and the Gloucester Health Department. That's a Prevent Cannabis Impaired Driving campaign. So when I was growing up, it was MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and unfortunately these days with cannabis being legal, cannabis driving while impaired by cannabis is more and more frequent. And really appreciate our students putting us some great artwork and posters to highlight the visibility of the danger and consequences of driving while impaired by cannabis. So really appreciate our students playing a role in getting that important message out. Another important message that our students have had a big hand in is this year, the Gloucester Police leading a campaign for autism acceptance. That's progress and movement from autism awareness, which is a campaign they had a few years ago. I really appreciate officers Chris Donacos and our school resource officers, Brian Chabrini, Peter Sotera, Michael Scola, for organizing and launching the effort in our schools to have designs for our students design work for creating the patch. It was a contest. There were 300 submissions from our students. And here on the left, you see Helen Larabelle's winning design. It's pretty awesome, by the way. It's great. So that's a patch that all police officers will wear starting in April. And also those patches on sale and proceeds go to Northeast Arcs Autism Support Center in Danvers. So really appreciate all the students that participated, officers who led it and helped carry it on, our teachers who supported students in doing the designs, and of course, Helen Maribel for a winning design. So a great patch. A few more here. Like I said, there's a lot going on. The JRTC team competed at the Lowell District meet on March 8th. And they competed in a number of areas: color guard, new cadet drill, dual exhibition arm drill, and dual exhibition unarmed drill. The competition was a great building block for them, one of their first of the year, and they're progressing and getting stronger and stronger. And Chief Robinson explained that they represented themselves and Gloucester High very well with their exhibition of professionalism and discipline. So really appreciate the JRTC through competing at Lowell there. Our Drama Fest, as you heard, I won't go over this again, but we had 6 students from Make 'em Laugh awarded All-Star Awards at the Drama Fest. And then also, this doesn't happen very often, we hosted Drama Fest this year. The high school has hosted Drama Fest. They hosted a quad meet and a regional championship for wrestling at our field house. So we are really getting a lot of notoriety, and folks want to use our field house more for like regional competitions, because it is a fantastic facility. And also a great facility here for our drama students as well. STEAM Camp Registration is open. This is one of our fantastic offerings. We do hosted by, led by Beeman 5th grade teachers, taking place at East Veterans for 4th and 5th grade students. Registration is open for the STEAM camp. That's this summer. Now I will stop talking and hand over to Amy Pasquarello. She will tell us about the half day yesterday and some of the great work our teachers and school leaders are doing.
So yesterday was a busy half day across the district. And this is just a list of the many things that we were doing. Our preschool teachers and ESPs focused on IEPs, both on goal writing and taking a glance at the new IEP as far as for paraprofessionals. Our middle school focused on best practices for students with autism on the spectrum disorder and did some team building activities. Our high school has continued their theme of teaching all students, and they've had a lot of teachers really step up and lead professional development opportunities. So there were 2 sessions, they're both 1-hour sessions, and teachers were able to select. There's 7 to 9, depending on each session, what they would take. That was phenomenal. And then elementary, we had a lot going on depending on what teachers taught. We were working on some pacing with our wit and wisdom curriculum. We're at the point now we need to refine and kind of make sure that we're all like going at on the same track for wit and wisdom. We had a few people working on supplemental materials for math or a STAR custom test, so we can really assess needed skills for particularly our fourth graders. We had science teachers that went to the O'Malley Academy and worked with Amy Donnelly and worked on Legos within education. And they kind of, there's some pictures, correct? So we'll see those in a minute. Our special education staff worked on conversions to the new IEP, progress notes, and then starting to think about summer school already and what preparation they had to do there. Our bilingual teachers worked on basic folders that we have to keep for record keeping, but also on student success plans so that we know that our students are progressing in their linguistic progression. One teacher's focused on interventions on literacy. And then our specialists got to meet together, art and music working towards the art festival, which is coming up in May. And our PE teachers are starting to take a deeper dive into the new PE and health standards. The committee that's in year 2 of looking at that. But not all of our PE teachers are on that. So the elementary PE teachers in particular we started to spread that out to all teachers. That was nice. And then our ESPs tried out an e-learning modules, 2 of them that have come from DESE on paraprofessional skills, and looking at getting some reviews on that to see how it can continue or how it's and also we had at O'Malley some trainings with our Project Adventure and making sure we're certified there. So you can see that on the left. Yeah.
So that's up and running now, for most of the year. Yeah, so students are actively engaged in doing the ropes course there, adventure course there. This was a further training. It's Officer Sutera up on the top of that ladder. He's putting the safety mechanism in it. And while he's doing that, he's being belayed by, I think, Don Muniz, one of our PE teachers. So he's safe. That's a pretty high ladder up there. So I'm glad he's not scared of heights. They don't want to have further training and certification on it. It's already up and running. Been running most of a big chunk of the year. Oh, on the right is the Lego education. So those are all elementary school teachers with a representative from Lego and also Amy Donnelly, our K-8 science coordinator. And then on the next slide, just a same thing. On the left, I think that is a group representing every single elementary school. One for every single school at least. And the right, you can see that I think it's Lindsay Stropel from East Veterans, Liz Duder from Beeman, and a few others digging into the Lego module.
And we have some ongoing professional development, just so that you know is happening. Our administrators are also receiving professional development, particularly in evaluation. This year, we're making sure we have only a few new evaluators in the district, but we give them kind of a specialized training so they can get up to speed. But for our more veteran evaluators, we're making sure that we're calibrating. So the expectations of when doing an observation are similar across the district. And we're working with Carol Gregory from Rebus Associates to do that. We come in and administrators have gone into classrooms together and kind of looked at what they're seeing, and then they'll conference with Carol and talk about what recommendations they might want, what might make, what celebrations they might make. And our teachers have been gracious in allowing us to come in as a training for administrators, as an evaluation for them, and they're clear that that's the expectation when they go in. And then next week on Tuesday, we have 11 of our female district and school leaders, excuse me, that are going to the 20th annual Mass Women's Educational Leadership Network. It's a women's conference. And the theme for the conference is Standing in Your Power, Strengthening Confidence and Comfort in the Leadership Role. And I've been happy to walk through the schools the last couple of days, and a few principals or curriculum people have been talking to me, and they can't wait to get their own bucket filled. So that's a nice thing, and it's nice to build up our female leaders, all leaders, but in this case, it's for me.
All right. Any questions from the committee about any of that, those detailed update of all the great things that are happening? So many of the great things, that's not all the great things that are happening across our schools.
Just one comment or question, Amy, we'll go back to the slide that showed the different schools, what they did for professional development.
Sure, 1 second.
You don't even really need to go back, but wit and wisdom, I think the word to use was pacing.
Yes.
That's kind of to get everybody kind of at the same
Yeah, and it's,
pace.
we don't need to be in lockstep,
Okay.
but wit and wisdom is a big curriculum. It's
Right.
been a heavy lift, and we've been very slow at bringing it on board. We had the multi-year. So we have some teachers that are very veteran at it. They can be on their 3rd or 4th year if they were in the pilot. They're really getting, it's easier for them each year to teach. And there are 4 modules, but we're seeing that not all teachers, most teachers are not getting to that 4th module or the end of the curriculum because it is a heavy lift. And so they came together by grade levels and kind of talked about where can they streamline things? Where can they maybe, if students are understanding or showing competency in one thing, how can they skip up to the next thing so that they get further in the curriculum? So we're not looking for exact pacing as far as if you're in this classroom and you're at a different school, you're in the exact same lesson, but they should be in the same module. They should be the same, close to where they are. And also recognizing that the needs of the students in front of all of our teachers at different schools, for example, West Parish and Plum Cove do not have a very large ML population, but Beaman and East Veterans do. So we were kind of identifying which lessons might be more building background knowledge and vocabulary where students might need it versus others might be able to go in a different direction. So it's finding ways to differentiate, but yet keep going in the same direction.
I think just to add, I think also allows so that instead of doing that on an individual basis.
Yeah.
You're doing, those sort of like, where are we modifying or where are we emphasizing or what are we sort of not gonna do because you can't do it all? That there's some, work together across schools among teachers on what to let go of, what to emphasize, what to prioritize, that sort of stuff. So we're still then, especially because all of our school students obviously going to the same middle school, that we still come out there, come out with the same, education, similar approach, basically. So that takes work, across the schools and across teachers.
And even year to year, you have students, you might have a class that's ready to go and goes a little faster, and you might have a class that needs to slow down. And so to identifying the points where you can speed up and when you do need to slow down, how you could do that, so that teachers have those options on hand to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all the students in there.
I noticed that Kathy has her hand up.
Yeah, that's helpful. I appreciate your answer. Kathy, you got a question? I think you're muted.
Can you talk a little bit more about the team building and what that looked like at the middle school as one of the topics that they covered?
I was not there, so I cannot speak too in depth, but I know that they're working to kind of really work together and build trust and a collaboration. And I don't have the specifics on that. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. I was mostly at East Vets yesterday.
Can't be everywhere. It's okay.
Yeah,
Close to show us.
Yeah.
Right.
So you gotta figure out a way to have it angled this way.
More this way.
So the camera's angled us, but
Right.
the screen's angled.
You're all on camera and don't know it. It should be turned
Yeah.
around
Oh,
up
they
there.
No longer, no longer.
No longer. You fixed it, sorry.
He didn't ask for permission for that, so.
The whole thing went, yeah.
How about that?
Okay.
We're next. We're going next.
All right.
Thank you, Amy.
Great, so now let me give the budget overview for FY '26. So this is sort of the first sort of official, not that I've made public steps already, but this is the first overview of the whole entire budget. Let me just, sorry, get the,
Can you do that?
Yeah, of course.
Traveling is not just so big ass.
I think that's her name, so that's
no,
not on that.
so the challenge we're having is to show the,
Right, to show so they can see the screen and the other can see us. And I don't think the camera's on us, so just.
so you can't make the camera on us when it's facing, when the TV's facing
So you
the
just turn
audience. Yeah. so you
I see.
can-
Oh, okay.
yeah. But folks should be able to see us on our
Create a sense of
screens.
individual.
Yeah,
Right.
and we will work on a way we can show the screen, the audience, where the camera is on the committee. So I turned it off, so,
Okay.
so the audience wouldn't have, doesn't. I'm assuming they don't really want to be on camera all night. I could be wrong about that, but I'm gonna go with, anyway, so.
Too late.
Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna get FY 26 budget overview. Let me just pull up the presentation and get going. So this will be a combination of details and numbers, but also approach. And so everybody matters, everybody belongs, and also every student learns. In Gloucester Public Schools. So here's the agenda for the site. So a lot of information tonight. And there'll be continue to be lot more information as we go along. You can see the different chunks there. So the first sort of two sections there are just sort of describing a little bit about a lot of what goes into the work that's happening and the priorities and the efforts, and that will lead to which help to inform, obviously, and help us make choice for the budget. And then section 3 through 4, 3 and through 6 are really the numbers of the budget, and a lot of the sort of parts and pieces that go into the numbers and behind them. So we just jump right in. So overview. Always really start here. Our schools and our students are doing well. There's tremendous learning and growing opportunities in our classrooms and schools every day. We saw a number of examples of that just tonight. We also can do better for our students, for our staff, and for our families. Always working to get better. We know the work is ahead, and we understand where we need to invest. We'll be talking a lot about that tonight. And we know this because I'll talk about the word "we" in a moment, okay? Because it's an important word tonight, okay? We're folks, our schools are work together. Our leaders work together. Listening, we're in the schools. We're communicating all across our schools. So you'll see more as we go along, just about where we're best in next year, the years to come. We'll continue to provide robust opportunities for our wide range of learners across all of our schools. And we're also going to build and invest. We're going to continue to invest in building our support for special education students and our most vulnerable learners. Okay. Which are some of a word on we. So I'm already using this word "we" a lot. So I want to talk about the word "we" tonight, right? So generally, when I'm using "we," it means educators, school staff, district staff, school leaders, district leaders, and the school committee. Okay, so it is literally the royal "we," right? We also can include students and parents and families, community members, local agencies, partnerships at different times in different ways. We always do that. Okay, and then the question, why we? Because it really comes down to the fact that the challenges any public school or district faces, especially in a place that's as sort of diverse and complex as Gloucester, requires all of us and groups of people with a variety of perspectives to develop and then solve the challenges we face. Okay, so it never takes one or two people, right? And the best solutions that we create and can be created are when we have a variety of people, perspectives, and roles addressing them at the school level and across schools. So you hear about literacy leaders, or you hear about, you have some examples now already, hear about the Health and Wellness Committee, or you hear about the new working group on student learning. You hear our behavior support teams, but also within schools tonight, you've already heard about learning walks, where teachers are working together, collaborating, and looking at those work. So when you have that cross fertilization, that those folks working together is when we create our best work and our best solutions to the challenges we face. And the other piece is that we have to work together across all these areas, across all these roles, if we're continuing to be strong and also strengthen the area-based challenge. It's really essential piece and about not only the way we work, but the way who want to work. And this is another way of describing that sort of just that we've been acting this way in lots of ways, but need to continue. So a collaborative, inclusive approach, okay? Keeping our work, improve practice and improve student learning together. We just listen to input from a wide range of people's roles, already talked about that. And then we make more and more opportunities for shared decision-making, responsibility, leadership at the school level and across schools. We always want to have a balanced approach to improvement, so we're always starting what we're doing well. But we're going to be open and transparent about our successes and our areas of challenge, okay? Open and honest about those. And then there's clarity, there's support, and being accountable. So something we need to continue to do a better job on is clearly defining roles, responsibilities, and effective practice. We'll be talking about some ways we're doing that in special education now, or just beginning to, I should say. But that means that people know what their job is and what their role is, and there's clarity about it. And they also, at the same time, get support on how to do that. And so they can meet and exceed their expectations. And then if we aren't meeting expectations, there's support to do better. There's also accountability on when we're not meeting our expectations. And that could be the district as a whole, that could be a school, that could be individuals, that sort of stuff. But we can't do that unless we're clear with folks about what we expect of them and from them. So just a little background and sort of overarching about us, broadly. So now I'm going to go into where we are now, where we're headed, and what we'll invest in for FY 2026. So it's hard to capture where we are now because we're a complex organization with lots and lots of people doing amazing work and lots of work every single day. But we have the plan for ongoing improvement, and we're now in our third year of the plan. Okay, our priorities were the correct ones 3 years ago, and we continue to work on them today. Priority 1, of course, deepen student belonging and engagement. Priority 2, strengthen instruction and better connect general ed and special education. Priority 3, strengthen social emotional learning and mental health support. And priority 4, strengthen special education, improve coordination of services, specialized instruction, and district programs. Okay. If these are working well together, if we make progress in all these areas, then we'll be our best. Okay. We've made progress in lots of areas, lots of ways. Right? And I'll go through some of them. Progress in priority 1, I won't read all these, but these are just some of the areas that we've made progress, okay? Addressing chronic absenteeism across all schools. Still, we know we want to get better at that, but we've been really diligent across each of our schools and working on that and doing it. We're building stronger book tech programs in many, many ways. We'll talk about that tonight, including adding exploratory medical assisting, externships, improving our facilities there. We're improving our transitions into 6th grade and 9th grade, and also this year making some good strides on improving the transition from pre-K to kindergarten. Okay, doing better on that. We've made stronger connections with English learners and newcomer families, and stronger support. Our guidance counselors and post-graduation planning at the high school. That's an area with Laura Carlson's leadership and our 4 guidance counselors there. Really just doing a bang-up job and a really strong, much improved job in just a few short years ago. Really appreciate their work and leadership. Priority 2, so strengthen instruction and better connect general ed and special ed. Already have talked a lot about this tonight, but is to continue teacher involvement in selecting and piloting and implementing new high quality curriculum. That's in K to 8, we've been doing that. We have school district-wide instructional leadership teams that are actively driving the focus on instructional practices in each school now. Strong curriculum instructional support at K to 8. Which includes ongoing professional development, coaches, middle school curriculum coordinator, okay? And then also the collaboration that teachers do, every day, every week, that sort of thing. At GHS, we're deepening the use of data cycles to assess student academic progress and identify academic support. Real strong content-focused professional development at GHS. Every year, this year, as Amy said, really focusing on all learners. It's a great place to really be going deeper in. And we continue to pilot a curriculum approach for newcomers and deepen professional development and also new tools for teachers to support one another. This is an area we made some progress, but have a long way to go. All of our work is a work in progress. Some examples, priority 3, an area we've really been able to improve our assessment and screening students to see who needs additional support. Been great at identifying and helping our therapeutic and clinical staff to develop really a lot more skills in the areas of collaborative problem solving, behavior therapy, skill building, also collaborative problem solving, and groups working on that. We've decreased our dropout rate in one key way. There is our partnership with the RAISE program over at Unity. And also have definitely developed some, an ability to partner with local agencies to make sure students who need intensive support that we can't provide in the area of mental health or support are able to get it in school as well. And then priority 4, so an area I think we probably have made, need to make the most, even more progress, and probably have not been able to focus on quite as well as we have liked to over the last couple of years. But Mike Jarvis, who's sitting next to me, as team program leaders, are really digging very deeply in that this year. We have already launched the use of the new statewide IEP structure and format. The review of special education processes and practices and services is ongoing. We've identified initial steps we're going to be making towards an inclusion program, which is based on co-teaching. I'll talk a little about that tonight. We continue to assess current district-wide programs in light of current student needs. It's going to lead to the development of programs and really looking at making sure K through 12, we have a continuation of programs and not gaps. That students sort of fall off from the support they need. And then also another important piece of this, again, these are under development. They're happening now. For some folks at the right speed, for some folks not fast enough. But our inclusion program, our district programs will have clear definitions of what they're about, methodology about how they teach, and also entrance and exit criteria as well. So again, these things are underway. You need to make more progress, and like I said, talk more about that tonight. So those are things that sort of those are some examples of where we are, what we've been working on across our schools and making progress on. I want to talk about where we are headed. And these are places that we need to keep on working on and are working on. But they're really sort of trying to set out a path of the work that's ahead of us. Okay. You'll see those are topic areas right there. I'll dig into each one. So where we are headed. Okay. So first of all, I want to focus on some of the things we'll continue to do. And again, these are just some of the things. So we're doing well. So we'll continue to have a range of advanced placement and honors course at GHS. Still continue to have high quality science, computer science, robotics, and engineering programs. And many of those started in O'Malley, which is a unusual thing in middle school. Our science center there, our pieces are really they're a real beacon. The middle school programs around the country. We're strengthening our locally based career vocational technical program. Now continue to strengthen in so many different ways. Continue to have a very wide variety of curriculum offerings at Gloucester High. That change over the years as students' needs change. Our elementary schools, they're warm, they're welcoming, they've got small class sizes, they prioritize academic learning and also a balance of social well-being and community. Just some of the things that we talk about tonight, everything from Pi Day to the autism awareness to the celebrations of to work on sclerosis. So that's middle school, but so many celebrations and acknowledgments of kids doing great work that bring our elementary school communities together are really, really powerful. And those aren't going away. Keep on doing that. We have strong and growing and inspiring arts and performing art programs. Our professional development continues to be focused on the needs of our staff and even development and delivery. We'll example that tonight. We have ongoing efforts to strengthen curriculum instruction in all schools, and that we have a house-based approach at O'Malley. Those are some of the things that we're going to keep on working on, keep on doing. And these are areas now that we need to keep on focusing on to get better at. Continue strengthening instruction, student learning and achievement, and continue to deepen student belonging. So these are really the hallmarks. One, they build on each other. Okay? And so that's something that we will not stop working on. And areas we need to really look at closely and invest in. So stronger educational practices, including assessment, evaluation, staff support, supervision, instruction programs. Okay. We're going to continue to strengthen our assessment evaluation process and address the need to provide all mandated services and support. Okay. Look at that closely and making sure we're able to do that and do it better than we are now. We need to strengthen our support for students with emotional behavioral disabilities. Okay, some of the programming we'll talk about. We need to be proactive with instructional support, especially in in reading literacy. It has increased the need for special education designation. We need to build the design of our program. How we do services, district-wide programs based on student needs and also staff needs to do those well in order to be successful. We need to assess caseloads for related service providers across our schools and when necessary, address those. And also, a key thing is as we develop in those areas and get stronger and clearer on them, and support our staff to do even better than they are now. Though that combination of improved instruction, service support also will help us make sure that we're able to educate more of our students in district. And those placements will reduce over time. Okay. But all those things have to be working together in ways that they aren't quite right now, but we will be working over the next coming years. Keep on doing this. When I say where we are headed, this is not by next year. This is a longer term view. Okay, on real needs we have. So another area where we are headed is to continue to support our vulnerable learners. So that means improve our clarity, curriculum, and supports for multilingual learners and staff. Academic intervention for students needing tier 2 instruction in addition to core instruction, an area we need to rebuild in a number of different ways. Okay, and also support our efforts on reading instruction as well. Stronger support and professional learning for our education support for paraprofessionals. So a lot of this will be coming out, has already started, but also will start and go into the next level. Really beginning with when the team convenes this spring of paraprofessionals and also Dr. Jarvis and Ms. Pasquarello on identifying next year with ESPs what professional learning that we should work on, and they want to work on together. And also we provide better support for students with disruptive behaviors. But I do want to be clear that that requires a combination of a whole bunch of things. Because behavior isn't one thing, it's caused by one thing. Okay? But it's typically a student who needs some, often a student, and I'm not talking about, these aren't students I'm talking about who have emotional and behavioral disabilities, but students who may be disruptive for lots of reasons. Often begins with academic challenge. And students who don't have the skills to be successful or don't have the skills to feel they're successful. If that includes strengthening our inclusion program and our co-teaching to help those students develop the skills so they can be successful. It means more training for teachers, paraprofessionals, and clinical staff. It means more well-defined district-wide programs and staffing based on student needs. And then other recommendations will be coming out of our behavior support teams, which are up and running in most of our schools now, and we'll have a district-wide behavior support team. All developed negotiations with the GTA and GATE. We do need it. It's the area we need to pay attention to it in the years ahead. And then the other piece here, which is a little more operational, really sort of funding and budget based, is we do continue to have quite a bit of expenses on grants. This is, I'll talk more about this, explain this more later. Particularly one, we're ending the COVID relief grants for permanently now, and also have a lot of typical expenses on grants that we have to over time bring on to more on the operating budget. This is from everything from annual curriculum materials costs, which I'll talk about tonight, instructional technology, including security upgrades and also Chromebooks. O'Malley Academy, we are bit by bit adding more to the operating budget to support O'Malley Academy. We'd like to do that more and more in the future. It's something we want to sustain, but at this point, primarily grant-based. Our career vocational technology, you'll hear tonight and in the coming weeks about the work we're doing to expand career voc tech. At this point, most of that work on expansion and piloting is coming from grants. And most of those are private and state grants. And we have to, in the years to come, make sure we're taking those on the operating budget. The Science Center coordinator at this point is paid largely through grants. We want to make sure that's a permanent position so we can support our grade 8 science teachers. And then transportation is another example, which I'll talk more tonight, of a lease that was paid by ARPA and no longer have access to. So these are sort of, like I said, more nuts and bolts around dollars, but it's something we've got to be thinking about bringing these costs onto our operating budget in the years to come. So that's, we pause there. And that's just really trying to give folks a sort of a larger picture about the areas that we know, again, we, being the broad-based we, really believe our schools have to continue to invest in over time and make progress in. I'm gonna talk about now where we're gonna invest in FY 2026 because we can't do it all at once. For lots of reasons I'll talk about. But let me pause there to see if any questions from the committee. Anything that's covered so far.
Right, I haven't. Waiting for this.
So where we're gonna invest in FY 2026. So strengthening special education, I'll talk about that in a moment, and then central curriculum and operational supplies. And then also talk about some grants as well. Okay. So where we're gonna invest now, we are going to add positions. I'm not talking about the details of those tonight. We're still working with schools. And then also we'll be working with staff to make sure that they know about that rather than announcing it at a meeting like this, okay? That's work we've got to do with school leaders and school staff, make sure they understand what the specific plans are for next year, okay? And the most important words on this slide were the initial steps. So we are presently involved in, and this is work being led by Mike Jarvis, in thinking through and planning through and developing some real changes in how we do inclusion in K to 8, how we do reading support in K to 5, and then also work on strengthening our district programs K to 8. Okay. High school is on there right now because a lot of their programs are in very good shape and quite strong, which you typically don't see as much as at a high school. Also, they've got strong co-teaching and inclusive practice as well. It doesn't mean that they're done. Those teachers are professional instructors, professional educators that keep on working to improve. But these are the areas we're focusing on. And initial steps are really important because we have to do these changes well. We have to do them piece, I don't want to say piece by piece, but make sure our folks are supported well. If they're going to be doing more co-teaching, they need to, that is, and be supported to do it. So we're going to, at each of the elementary schools, do that in different ways in terms of just which grades and to what extent. Okay, something we've got to build over time, and because we're doing it, the initial stage now. So remember, started this assessment and learning at the schools. Mike's leadership here, working with program leaders and working with principals, and sort of design. These are common practices, the best practices, but it just takes time to develop the clarity, develop the systems, develop the professional development, communicate, include people in the process. And so, and we have things like budget processes that don't stop, okay? So it's ongoing work. Just recently, Mike and principal are working to make sure he's talking directly to staff, to special education staff in the buildings, and hearing from them and helping them understand a few of the steps they're going to take, but also hearing their responses and what's going to be challenging and what they're concerned with. So that's happening bit by bit. It takes time. It's hard to be patient when you hear the changes are coming, and you want to know all the answers right now. And then also there's a range. Some folks are happy and understand things quickly. Other folks need all the details, to be comfortable. So, but that just takes time. Okay, so but we are really committed to doing some initial steps next year, and committed to doing it in a way where folks will have early success, so we can build to them. Okay, but those are areas in the elementary schools and also at mailing. We're doing different degrees in different places, but we need to talk about that and work at the school level before I just throw it out. I mean, like this. So those details will be coming to all of you as well in terms of the number of dollars. I will give you some numbers in a moment on those things as well. We also have to get essential curriculum and operational resources onto the operating budget, and because the funding is going away, we need to do that this year. So ESSER, as folks know, ended in fall of 2024, sorry. That meant that we were still able to use dollars in the summertime to buy essential curriculum materials and also curriculum software. And these are things like Wit and Wisdom and Math and Focus and a few other ones.
Star 360.
So essential tools that we use every day that were funded by ESSER for the last few years now got to move on to the operating budget. So you can't do without those. Those are the things like our students and staff use every day. The bus transportation lease was paid by ARPA in FY '24 and in FY '25. That's got to come out of the operating budget. This is the regular buses, okay? And then IT costs, including Chromebooks that were paid by ESSER up until last year, also need to come on the operating budget. Okay, I'll talk about the cost of those things as we go. For the two primary places we will invest, folks will also hear about expansion in other places, okay? But most of these are happening on, that are grant-based, okay? So in the coming weeks, and well, people already heard about this, but the work we're doing at the Career Boat Tech, to launch the exploratory program for ninth graders, the ninth graders, and expand to 5 programs, including medical assisting. The staff and the materials and supplies and equipment are all coming from grants. And that's a combination of state grants and also private grants. So GF has been really supportive of it. And then also upgrades that are doing to the CBT classrooms and facilities and equipment are also grant-based. Brenda Wassing's done a tremendous job of getting a variety of state grants to support the work there. This committee is up to speed on, but I'm sure a lot of people aren't. Other grants which continue to support us, Amelia Science Center, as I mentioned before, supporting elementary teachers and teaching science, and creating engaging science learning opportunities. That's largely funded by grants. And then a lot of our professional learning on all sorts of level instruction, and also in the areas of mental health, social emotional learning are also grant-based. So as people hear about either expansion or deepening or continuing those, it's just important for them to know that these pieces aren't on the operating budget. They're on the there's specific grants for these specific purposes. They aren't general grants that you can use for any purpose. Now I'm going to get into numbers here. Talk about the overview. So we just want to sort of make some context here. So we faced significant cuts a year ago, funding and staffing. Everyone's forgotten that, but we eliminated more than 20 positions for the FY 25. You're going to build back a small amount of that FY 2026. It will take a number of years to get that number of positions back in your operating budget. I just want to make sure people understand that that's the situation, the context. Okay, I just want to be sort of straight about that. The mayor has committed that the schools will be getting our fair share from the city, and especially given the city's financial situation now. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Okay, we work closely with the mayor to really make a strong commitment to the schools, and confident that he will be doing that. Improvement and funding increases take time. So you saw in the road ahead, there's a lot of work to do, a lot of areas, okay, that our staff, our teachers, our school leaders, our district staff are aware of what we need to work on. Okay, but a couple of things. We can't do all those at once because it's not possible to do all those things at once. You can't build and sort of renew and really shift special education or like wisdom that took numerous years. Okay, we can't overwhelm folks with new things all the time. Okay? That doesn't work well. It doesn't lead to success. It's overwhelming to folks, and it's not effective. So we will, in everything we do, whether it's medical assisting is a good example of how we're approaching that. The work we're doing on special education, for example of that. We won't make wholesale changes K to 8 or into high school at once. We do over time. The other piece about that is very practical. It's not possible to do all those things at once. Okay, you're going to build and increase budgets over time. You can't possibly outstrip. You can't spend more money than the city has. Okay? So we have to work hard to get our fair share from the city, and then make sure we're using that wisely. That can be challenging for folks because it is a lot to do, urgency, but we also have to be patient. I don't mean be patient, but like understand the reality of that the improvement in the funding takes time. Can't do it all won't be successful. And then our fiscal context, we have a fiscal context that also folks need to understand because it's very challenging for schools and districts across the North Shore and the state. We're going to go to that right now. In terms of across the Commonwealth, we're building a budget in this context. There's lower growth in tax receipts in the city and the state. There's lower growth in the Student Opportunity Act funding. It slowed way down. There was some very significant increases 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, those increases are not keeping up with inflation. Okay, our health insurance costs, we'll talk about this in detail tonight. Those health insurance costs continue to rise at a rate higher than local revenue. Okay, I've already mentioned that very significant federal grants have ended. And the special education costs continue to increase. We have to continue to be conscious of those. And circuit breaker, for folks who don't know, is the state funding for students with very severe special needs. Those would be in-district students or out-of-district students. But we're reimbursed for those costs of students above $51,000 if it costs that much education to provide the service and support those students. The circuit breaker provides that additional funding, but it's it's prorated. It's only a portion of the cost of educating the students with most significant needs. And that continues to be underfunded. We're not getting full reimbursement on circuit breaker. Never have. So those are just context. It's helpful for the committee, but also the public to understand that as the complexity of building budgets for not only Gloucester, but any community. I'm going to focus here a little bit on the region statewide, a little more context. Layoffs do continue in districts on the North Shore around Massachusetts. Not going to be the case in Gloucester for the schools this year. Okay, we're going to be different than most surrounding communities. Okay, and that is a significant deal. Okay, there are many North Shore communities close by that are considering overrides to increase their tax levies. Okay, that's to explain that it's a place of restoration for many communities. Okay. The city of Gloucester operating, of course, in terms of what our city can afford to pay. Department managers across the city have been advised to pursue level 100 budgets, no increase in staffing. That's not the case for the schools. Okay. We will have an increase in staff. Okay. Total growth in city revenue is expected to be in the neighborhood of $3.9 million. Okay. That's for the whole city, for all departments, all services for across the city. It's $3.9 million total. Then national, this is a significant uncertainty that we don't know how it's going to sort out. But depending how it does, it also could affect our budget as we're developing, or even after we develop it. Okay. And that's what's going to happen with the very large federal grants that we benefit from, and most communities take Title I, IDEA, which is special education grant funding from the federal government, and other federal grants. There's clearly change underway by the new administration. At this point, it's not clear to anyone how these things are going to sort out. Okay, it's a risk to us. In all communities, and it's a type of thing that can actually, force us to change our budget while we're making it, while we're, into this process this spring, or even after. Especially because the fiscal year, the federal fiscal year, starts September 1st typically. So often those the budgets and the grants we're getting, the amounts we're getting for those grants can change once the school year starts. Okay. So given that. Here's just a quick summary of numbers. I'll go into much more detail in a moment here. But you see this from FY19 through proposed FY26. So last year, or this current year, I should say, our operating budget, that's grants, was 51.5 million essentially. And I'm proposing an increase of 54.2 million. That's an increase of 2.725 million. You see that's just about the highest increase we've ever gotten. Okay. Only one other year is different, and that's FY24, when there was a very significant increase in the Student Opportunity Act, okay, funding, 70 funding. You'll see that proposal to go to $54.2 million budget is a 5.29% increase. Okay, and you can see the comparisons to all the other years, but going back until FY20. So FY24, it's a categorical difference. Okay, a much higher increase that we're proposing. We'll talk about so we're talking about revenue and the costs and cost drivers, and then wrap up with some further detail. Talk about revenue first. So these are the revenue sources that typically any school district uses. Okay, so local funding, that includes local property taxes and municipal contributions. State funding, that includes Chapter 70 funding, which is the state funding to all schools. Okay, that's always directed to the city, and then any city decides how much of that is allocated to the school district. Okay, happens in every municipality. The circuit breaker, I mentioned that, and also state grant. Circuit breaker, again, is the reimbursement for those students who have very significant special needs. Often out of district students, but not always, and then state grant, other state grants as well. Federal funding, really the primary source of funding for the federal government are formula grants, Title I, Title II, Title III, IDA, special education. Title I is for addressing and supporting families and students in poverty, schools that serve them. Title II is, yes.
We use it for teacher, professional development and,
Title III is for supporting.
multilingual learners, and the Title IV, that's also well-rounded education.
Great, thank you. I knew that Title III, I always get a little confused, so thank you for your help. Other sources include private grants, everything from GEF to individual funders, and those are small or large and range dramatically. Often the private grants are for specific use. And the revolving funds because of fees and services for participation, food service is one of them. Our athletics, so preschool is one, so we have family or students are paying fees for a service or tuition, and those revolving funds and those help to contribute to paying for the service that are paid for. And the on behalf payments paid by the city of Gloucester on behalf of the school district. I'll talk about that in a moment. So here are revenue sources. These are for FY26, what we project. Okay, to local funding at 42.2 million. The state funding again comes to the city, and the city allocates all or portion of that to different things. You see the different chunks there. Circuit breaker, we anticipate $3 million of revenue during next year for that. Federal grants, again, those may be in jeopardy, up to $2 million. They also may be reduced. Private grants or state grants, you see those. And on behalf payments from the city, close to $25 million. I'll talk about that's estimated. That's really sort of, I think that is the 25 number. We'll talk about what that means in a moment. And here's local and state funding in terms of we have the total under 70 from the state in the dark bars. You can see and the local contribution, which is simply in this calculation, just the total operating budget minus that year minus the state funding, state chapter 70 funding. So if you add up the dark blue bar and the gray blue bar, that accounts for our full operating budget. You see the growth over time, both in the state funding and also the total in the local funding as well. And this is another way of looking at the same information as a table, in case it's sorry, this is state funding, just state funding. You see the state funding increased from $6.6 million in FY19. When the Student Opportunity Act funding hit FY23, it jumped up significantly, close to $3 million that year. And has continued to increase, but you notice in FY23 and 24, very large increases. And then since then, declining, they increase each year, it's declining. It does mean that it stays that these increases are added to the prior level. We're not going backwards, still going forward, still adding more state funding to the city of Gloucester. But it's declining in not quite to the low rates of increase in the early 2020s, but still dramatic, different than a couple of years ago. These are our federal grants. Gary, these are FY22 to FY25 numbers.
FY26 is estimated.
Estimated, yep. Great, FY26. So you see, we're expecting small increase, and because you're really on the federal grants. This is again titles 1 through 4, IDA, Carl Perkins, and early childhood grants. Have been essentially steady since FY23. FY22 and FY21 were the years of COVID relief, very significant COVID relief. This is where the federal grants increased dramatically. Okay. These are the on behalf payments from FY2025. We'll talk about these, and these are on behalf. These are payments the city's making on behalf of the schools. Okay. The green, which are the top ones, are ones other city departments may also get support in these areas, but many of them don't. I mean, let me explain what I mean by that. So DPW provides facilities and maintenance to other departments, okay? Other departments may have capital projects like the police have, or have right now. They also, the fire has had in the past. The city does pay for pension costs, for other departments as well. They do contribute to retired employees, health insurance. There is insurance coverage from the city to other departments as well. So I'm not saying that it's the same level, okay, they're very different levels, and we have much more capital and facility needs than other departments. Maybe all the departments, okay, and we have larger staffs than other departments as well. It's not the same numbers, but it's areas that the city may also be contributing to other departments in these areas. The yellow, however, are ones that are specific to the schools. Okay, except for ARPA funding, there was ARPA funding obviously applied across the city in many ways. But really those three, the regional vocational schools, school choice, and police department, those are areas that are school specific. Those are obviously not areas that other departments are involved in at all. And if remember that number, as we said here, is close to 25 million for FY25. Any question about revenue? All right, I'm gonna go on the fact that I'm explaining it really well, not that I'm boring you to tears, okay? We'll be honest about this, right?
A little bit of both.
Okay, that's right. It is what it is.
I mean, I have a ton of questions, but I'm gonna ask them at BNF next week when we go through it, right? I don't want you to think I'm sitting here
No
enjoying
problem. I
this.
think I know everyone's wrapped. I know.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. It looks like you always keep.
Yeah, first and then went backwards.
I listen, some people need to go to sleep. They're asleep now. They're still on camp. They're still on. They're sleeping. That's totally fine. No problem. Okay. Important information. None of it's simple. Okay. Costs. So I'm going to talk about the primary cost drivers. These don't change. Okay. But I want to talk about it and share the numbers with you. So in every district in the Commonwealth, okay, there are three drivers that really increase the costs. Okay. So the special education costs, both in district and out of district, okay, they continue to increase, all right, especially out of district. We have a contractual obligated wages, okay, we are obligated by contract to pay our great staff, okay, and those are in bargaining agreements for the most part. And then health insurance always goes up, okay. Again, folks have heard this before, but it's just to remind you that these are when they're increasing our budget. They're being driven by these for the most part, and then they're able to, we have to find sort of in the margins areas to improve program or build program, or even add staff.
Can I ask a question for that, right?
Yes.
Okay, GIC numbers, did they come out yet?
Yes. Yeah.
And we already have an impact for our health insurance? We have a
Yeah, it's about 8 to 10%.
increase?
Yeah.
Like in 10 slides. We can do like 10 slides.
Oh, right. I need,
You're a little advanced.
Okay, so special education costs are often driven by the number of students with disabilities, okay, and also their level of need, okay. Gloucester, there are not too many places you see Gloucester meeting the, when we look at our DART districts and our local districts, okay. We typically are in sort of middle, higher end of a variety of comparisons, okay. Right, we show the comparisons all the time on many different areas, okay. For student with disabilities, Gloucester does have the highest rate of student disabilities, okay. When you compare our DART districts and our local neighboring districts, okay. And in some places, it's not really close, very honestly, okay. So we have to keep on making sure that we're doing this well, and we're, have been doing work, and we'll continue to do work on that, okay. But it's part of the context in terms of our cost, obviously, okay. Also, I want the community to know, and is that our high needs learners in percentage of them have increased over the years. Okay. So since 2016-17, so within 10 years, we've gone from 50% of the students and high needs learners. High needs learners are the combination of students who are English learners, students with disabilities, or economic disadvantage or / low income. Okay. And that's increased. We're at this point, essentially 58% of our students qualify, fit at least one of those areas, and some you'll more than one. Okay. That's gone down a little bit from a few years ago where we're at just a 60%, but still quite a bit higher than it was 6, 7, 8 years ago. Okay? And as the state funding formula acknowledges, and I think everyone will, often, not always, it's gonna take more service and support to support the students in these categories. Often, not always. But we do want to be able to provide support. So then now I'm going to look at, so that's sort of, that's across our schools, in our schools. I'm now shifting to the out-of-district placements, so special education out-of-district placements. These are students who identified that the way we're operating now, the programs and support we are able to provide, okay? These are students that we don't have the capacity or capability to provide that support and instruction in our own schools, okay? And these are costs that have gone up all over the Commonwealth, probably all over the nation, okay? Over the years, they accelerated rapidly. This is a story we told a lot last year, okay? The increase is slowing down some, we anticipate, but still will increase. This past year, in terms of costs, okay, this is different than budget, the costs, okay? For a little while, okay? Is that our district place would cost $7 million for tuition, okay? 2.34 for transportation, for a total of 9.3 this current year. Next year, we anticipate that going down a fair bit, really only in the area of transportation. Okay, we were conservative in our estimate for transportation. It didn't go up as it has gone up before, so we can have some savings there. Okay, and so the budget won't be. We don't expect the cost to be as high as we anticipate that they will be this year. Okay, and it's being borne out because the costs this year aren't as high as we anticipated, which is good. To discuss that at BNF and will. So we have essentially an $8.8 million budget. Sorry, we anticipate $8.8 million of costs for special education out of district placements next year. Okay.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure, yeah, tuition will go up, transportation we expect will go down.
Is this based on our current status?
Yes, it is.
So
Yeah.
not projecting any students that may move in?
Oh, no.
Or is that part of
I'll
the-
show you some detail. Yeah, I'll show you some detail. But we know we're anticipating increase there. Yeah, definitely. This is just a representation of those costs, but it's by a chart. You can see that really have gone up quite a bit. That's tuition. So here's what you're asking right here. So we expect our tuition cost to be $6.4 million next year. Public and private placement tuition increases in the neighborhood of $320,000. So new placements and movements, which you're just asking about, anticipate $300,000 for cost in those. And then we have a contingency of $250,000. Often we have a contingency that's higher than that. This next year we're planning for $250,000, but we have built-in growth that those two rows on the tuition increases and anticipated growth. And that's a way we've been organizing. It started last year, so we can, and that helps us track. Really, when we do have any growth or changes in placement, you can really see closely, where we're taking the dollars. Did that answer your question, Melissa?
It answers my question, yeah.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Good. Transportation here. So again, this is also based on what we're seeing this year, which is lower than anticipated costs of transportation. Than FY25. So we're anticipating cost in this area 1.25 to be for out of district transportation. And then homes and falls transportation for $200,000, and always again, you see here $1,000. So that would be a total cost of $1.5 million. Again, because of offsets, you'll see some different numbers in the budget, but these are our costs. Okay, we have to start here with our costs. And then the last piece here in terms of cost drivers for increase are always salaries. So here you have the increase in salaries for a few different groups. So GTA is in the blue-gray, GAPE is in the dark sort of blue, and then we've combined a few smaller units, just rather than showing every individual one. Nurses, asking in transportation, there are not many employees in each of those, so just wanted to show that as well. So you see not only the usually you see the increase in cost year to year, then those are dollars, okay? And then here you see percentage. This is across, this is if you add up all the salaries in one of the units, GTA or GAPE combined, okay? And compare the salary increase from, the total amount of salaries for one unit for what you 1 year to 2024, and then compare it to the following year, okay? It's not a statement on each individual employee, because those vary quite dramatically depending on years of service, steps, education level, that sort of stuff. But this is if you add up all the salaries for, say, nurses, asking bus drivers, what the annual increase from the prior year is. So, for example, so next year, anticipating a 5% increase across all of nurses, asking bus drivers. For next year, 4.1 increase across all paraprofessionals, and 4.38 across all TTA members. Of course, that, like I said, it varies. There will variances depending on work experience, how long you've been here, and also in some cases education level. Health insurance. So here you see the top row is the cost every year from FY21. And we're estimating for FY26 going from 6.7 million in the current year budget to 7.2 million. That increase over the prior year is $537,000, so $500,000 just going to health insurance increase. That's an 8% increase over last year, we're anticipating. And then the yellow row is really important for folks to understand just how much health insurance costs take up of our entire budget. Now we're over 13% for the first time ever. 13.4% of our operating budget is going towards healthcare costs. Gary, this does not include healthcare costs that are in grants, is that right? Or is it?
Right, it doesn't.
Yeah, so we have additional costs that are covered by grants. So if we have employees whose positions are paid by a grant, we'll almost always apply their health insurance, their insurance or benefit costs onto that grant. It's not on the operating budget.
Federal grants or state grants?
Federal or state or both?
Federal, mostly federal grants.
Gary, didn't you say we already got the GIC numbers and they're 9 to 10?
Yeah, 8 to 10.
8 to 10,
Oh,
yeah,
8 to 10.
there's several plans.
Right,
So the plans vary, the 8 to 10,
so we have 8 here.
8%, yeah. Well, and there's fluctuations as people come retire, new people come on. So that is an estimate at this point. We'll refine it
Okay.
as we get closer to the final budget that we present.
We typically get, at this point in the process, overestimated, and then find some savings there as we refine it. And we're hoping that, But just as a reminder, just for the public to know, I mean, Gloucester does a great job and better than many districts in providing 75% to 85% of health insurance premium costs. It's a real strong benefit to the city of Gloucester employees. And that range depends on which plans. And there you just see a bar chart of increases in health insurance costs past about 5 years, 6 years. Okay. So now we get to the proposed budget, so a little more detail here. Expenditure by department. So first, as we always show every year, just the sort of basic cost centers. For folks, I think we break it down to personal expenses and ordinary expenses, and personnel expenses, are divided to salaries, benefits, and ordinary expenses are divided to special education, transportation services, then repairs, maintenance, supply materials. Like most organizations, if not all, and like every single school district, the vast majority of our budget goes into salaries. It's 70% right there, or $38 million for next year. Next highest cost center is the benefits, $8 million. Just talked about the vast majority of that goes into health insurance. Special education and transportation services. So special education, this would wait. Gary, I'm sorry. Is this tuition and transportation here, or is this
tuition and transportation?
The contracted services as well. And then 10%, and then you see the balance is on repair, maintenance, supplies, materials. It's a graph. There's a pie chart below. So these are expenditure breakdowns, something I'm gonna point out here, oh, sorry.
Sorry about it. Is that the special ed and transportation costs? That, yeah, should it be in,
Like 7 million?
No, this is just the out of district, the budget, the out of district, which is, and the transportation cost.
Those numbers are higher.
Yeah, what we haven't gotten is the offsets. We'll go into that more in depth at B and F, okay? Offsets, just for folks who are listening, we have, they're offsets through prepaid tuition.
Yeah.
And also the circuit breaker I mentioned earlier,
Yeah, the offsets bring it down.
which lower the amount of dollars that the operating budget's paying for those costs.
so the number that, the real number is what it is minus the offsets.
Yes.
Yes,
Which puts us
exactly
in
right.
that job.
And that's what's in the
Exactly.
pie chart.
Yeah, so the costs are here, what's in the pie chart is these costs minus the offsets.
Okay.
And because we're throwing a lot of thinking tonight, not gonna go to the office deeply tonight, okay, because didn't wanna put everybody to sleep, okay? But that's why you see that difference between what the budget is on the operating budget. And then another way of saying that is how much the operating budget will be allocated for those costs.
Yeah, it's not the total cost.
Right.
It's just the budgeted cost coming from the general fund.
Yeah.
When Gary says general fund and I say operating budget, we're on the same thing. Okay. You guys know that, maybe I don't know, everyone knows that. Okay, here's an expenditures breakdown. So you'll see this is about, everything from district office, technology, the different schools, okay? Notably on the school budgets here, is special education is its own department here. They'll also show you as we move forward, where that special education dollars are allocated to the schools, okay? For whichever ones are happening in the schools, okay? Right now, it's separated out, special education as, special education staff, okay, being separate from the schools, okay? As we go forward, we'll allocate them across the school, you can see that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, this is special education, the total cost. So it's not only out of district, but it's also salaries,
Right.
yeah, services.
Just to say facilities there is a very small line item in our budget. And that's because, as we talked about, at the city, is really serves as our facilities department. In other districts where they have a facilities department, an operations department, that'd be much higher, obviously.
And there's some facilities being paid by grants, yes, as well.
Keith raises his hand.
Sorry. Keith, unmute yourself if you would.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Athletics, 259,000. Is that for the whole district?
Yeah, there's a revolving fund that supplements that as well. So there's the revolving fund adds another about 200,000 to that. So this is mainly coaches' salaries and supplies.
And the revolving fund, Keith, is are the fees, athletic fees, that families pay, and that supports the budget. But it's separate from the operating budget.
And we get a contribution from the city to the revolving fund.
That's 75.
Yes.
So most of that would be to the GHS, right? Because we're talking coaches and higher more involved athletic programs, I would think. Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right?
majority, there's also some middle school. But you're right, mainly the high school.
There's an annual budget increase, just the increase in the operating budget of general fund. Okay. And then this is just a summary of the changes that are assumed from this current year to next year. Okay, the operating budget of the general fund. Again, special education tuition is going down, that's in the budget, not our cost, the costs are going up. Because the offsets, the amount that's being spent from the operating budget's going down, okay, but the costs are going up. Okay, we anticipated $1.5 million across all salary increases. Increase in $500,000 for health insurance. Increase in transportation lease payments by $376,000. Chromebooks, $60,000, which are now on the operating budget. Leasing those. Curriculum materials, so these are annual renewals, and materials for tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 instruction. It's a combination of sort of the
That was previously paid by the ESSER.
Previously paid by ESSER, we were able to buy books in advance, but all digital licensing do year to year. So that is an ongoing cost, and things like Star 360, Wit and Wisdom, Amplify, all of those have an annual cost that we need to have, and we were lucky enough to pay them through ESSER funds in years past, but those funds are gone. So in order to maintain our curriculum support, to add it to the operating budget. So,
Which we knew in advance. I mean,
We knew in
that they
advance.
would Run out.
yeah.
And the position, so that's the summary of them, okay? This is a chapter 70 funding and total operating budget. There's $54.2 million we're proposing. This is a re-showing of the summary slide I showed earlier. Again, showing the increase from last year, from this current year, sorry. 75 million at 5.29%. Next steps, so a lot of steps. This is just the overview, okay? So we'll finalize the decision on proposed increase in staff and education. We're gonna begin, I've already done this in terms of work with school leaders on this. Okay, they've been involved in all of this. Okay, but also any individuals about any proposed changes for their school or for their role. Okay. Provide building and finance committee with data tables in the budget book, including offsets. Okay. And then also identify future investments by position materials and support. So this is a different, for number 4 is different. It hasn't done this before. So I talked about earlier in the very beginning of the presentation where we're headed. And laid out a lot of areas that we, meaning our school, our staff, our leaders, know we need to invest in and build. Okay. We'll be having those listed by, where we anticipate positions or other costs associated with those, okay, in the upcoming years. You'll have a list of those, okay? And part of that list is what we're adding next year, okay? So you have a sort of a roadmap about what we need to continue to do, and both in areas of instruction support, but also related positions, and then what we're able to do next year.
And that will be next week?
We're aiming for BNF next weekend. And then the budget calendar. So we've completed the orangey Bear Aspirin, St. Joseph Children Aspirin Hall there.
There's a certain reference. You just aged yourself.
I knew what you meant.
I do too.
Yes,
I do too.
It really tasted good, okay? Yeah, true. So anyway.
When you get older, you need them too, so the color comes back to you.
Anyway, we got the St. Joseph Children Aspirin color there, the paint green, that's what we've accomplished so far, okay? We'll continue to do the work at the BNF committee next week. And then also the BNF will review the budget in their April meeting as well. We will have a presentation, public budget, on the budget at the next school committee meeting as well to provide some more detail to the full committee. But essentially, these are the key dates. With the sort of next key date on the school committee would be your first vote on the budget would be on April 30th, which is the budget that goes to public hearing. Okay. So there are more details to come, obviously. More details to work through. We want to make sure that we're talking to folks on the school level, make sure that they're informed about changes that are coming and happening, and then also any shifts that at the school level. And then we're holding the committee as well. We want to make sure we talk to folks that working with folks at the school level. And as well as getting to work with you. Well, that's all we have for tonight in terms of the overview of the budget. Questions?
I have a few. Just a question. So I know you said we will be discussing hiring staff. Likely to make up for the staff that you got last budget. Has administration done any type of audit of tier 2 intervention and what the loss of the 28 staff members, how that's impacted the students?
What do you mean by audit? Sure.
Like if you look to see the reduction in services and how that's impacts outcomes over the past year.
I would say that we have heard quite a bit about that anecdotally.
Okay,
I don't know if there's, I'm not sure if there is a way, I don't know, I mean.
I don't mean like an official audit,
Yeah.
I'm meaning like, have
Yeah.
you assessed the situation?
Yeah, I can't say that we've like looked at how many were provided last year and how many were provided this year. I'm not even sure we could actually do that with tier 2 interventions. Okay, tier 2 intervention, not special education interventions.
Well, that's the good intervention.
No, well, they are, but they're not, a couple things, they're not special education interventions.
Right, no, I know, it's separate, that's
So,
my next
so you
question.
can't look at IEPs to see
Right.
if they, of course, documented that way. But I just don't, I don't know.
Well, I'm
If-
talking about
if-
hearing from teachers in classrooms as a reduction in staff
Yeah,
impacting.
so we certainly have heard that, without a
Okay.
doubt. And then the concern about that and the need to build it back. Oh,
Okay.
definitely heard that.
So that will be part of the conversation with increasing staff,
That,
or is that not a
that
priority?
that will come, part of that,
Okay,
okay, will be in what we're able to do on reading specialists, okay, and supporting, early literacy. Okay? That's a key area, obviously, of interventions, okay, and we want to be more proactive with it, with fewer interventions. Okay, so we make it, the initial steps, not in every school, but on that, yeah. But no, I've really heard in lots of different areas and ways about the difference in tier 2 interventions and how, part of that, we added interventionists through ESSER, okay?
Right.
And those were cut,
right,
and then also some cuts from the 28th position last year as well. So,
Right.
yes, that's very real, and that's why we made sure on where we're headed, that's something we gotta build back.
Right.
Okay, over time. Because again, we won't get anywhere near adding 20 positions. Nowhere near that.
right,
Okay, if you cut $2 million in positions essentially, remember, and this is not just not due to everybody, 2.725 million of increase in our budget next year. Over 2 million of that is for required increases.
right,
Okay, so a small portion of that is available to expand or rebuild, so to speak. And we have that money to the credit of the mayor. Where he's doing. So, anyway, so that's so a very real concern. We've heard a lot, I've heard a lot personally, and we have heard, from a lot of folks. So
and I asked not just for the students, but for the teachers, right? Teachers are burnt out, need support, a lot going on in the classroom. So how do we move forward with a budget that recognizes that there needs to be the support that went missing last year?
Yeah.
I know we can't restore.
Yeah, and I just want to be
It has
clear,
to be a
because we're gonna, I want to make sure folks. That we acknowledge, all of us, the school committee, ourselves, okay, school leaders, that those are real, okay? It's a challenge we're having,
Right,
but I also want to be realistic with folks is that, it's gonna take time on
yeah.
that.
No,
I don't expect folks to be happy about that, I'm not saying you should be happy, but that's what we're facing.
Right. I just want to me, I'm one person,
Yeah.
but that's a priority for me. And we had Rich Francis last meeting asking for a staffing audit, right? I mean, to be honest with you, I know every school district in Massachusetts, if not the whole country, is doing a staffing audit. Realize that they're well below what we would expect. So I'm not saying Gloucester's any different, but it's a hard reality that teachers are struggling, like kids are struggling, and just want to make sure that the priority is, yes, we're getting, the mayor is committed to this budget, but we have some catching up to do because of what happened last year, and I just want to make sure that that's a priority.
I'll say this, I mean, just to add context, okay, to, not only you,
Right.
but, you know, is that, you know, we're also very well staffed when it comes to a number of areas, okay? What I mean by that is, no, but like, that results in small class sizes. You know, our elementary schools have, you know, 15 to 20, and somewhere 22, you know, probably, I'm not sure how many class, I don't know how to speak, but, you know, but that's the range of our elementary school class, 14 to 22, maybe there's a 23, I'm quite sure, okay? Those are small class sizes, okay, you know, for the Northeast, but especially if you go south or west.
Right.
Okay, and then also a lot of classes at high school, often happen in high schools, that are also quite small, you know, again, so that's like, so, but in other places, we don't have the staff we had in the recent past, let's say.
And I know you're genuine, and this is a concern of yours as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm not trying to undermine anything, just want to keep the conversation going, show how important it is. And then my next question is for Dr. Jarvis, because I don't know if you'll be at the meeting next week. So, when you came at our last meeting, you were talking about changes. I heard tonight, your team building, trying to build trust, knowing that things may happen differently next year. You made a comment that I can't forget, that you said the impact would be cost neutral. I didn't like when you said that, because to me, nothing is cost neutral, right? And that's all when I look at you, I hear cost neutral, and I know that can't be true. I mean, you might try to make it true, but I just wonder, it could be, yeah. So I'm just wondering, in your assessment of what you've done since you've been here since July, and the changes that you bring forward, it's not just a one-year plan, it's not a two-year plan. Clearly, this is a much broader outlook. I'm curious to know how confident you are knowing our budget situation this year and what it was last year, and going forward and knowing all that's going on in the world right now. Are you real confident in the steps that you're taking and the changes you're taking, knowing that we don't want to go backwards once we start this, right? So do you have that level of confidence knowing the budget restrictions that we have, because this is your first budget? And then you probably worked in a world where there was a better budget.
That's where I learned the phrase.
There you go. You know, that concerns me. I mean, it concerns me that you need to do the team building and bring the teachers and support staff with you as you're making these changes. But then at the same time, you know, we're trying to catch up from last year's budget. And we know you're gonna need money going forward in the special education budget, especially if we have more students move in. So I'm curious to hear from you on that, and when I probably won't get the opportunity to talk to you about it again.
Yeah, so, well, I hope I do, so there's that.
You will.
Okay, so I will, so there it is, and, so 8 months in, I did that, not just fiscal, but, what do we do, how are we doing it, what do we do well, what are we not doing well, so 8 months in, that's really what I did, that sample in on that, and so what I learned is that, so we found some gaps in our district programs. We talked about that last time, we talked about highlighting some of those tonight. And then I also learned that we have to invest in our infrastructure.
Right.
In the structure for like the tier 1, tier 2, right? So co-teaching, that's bringing the services to the students in the general ed setting. So that could be a range of students that get those supports. So now you have 2 certified teachers in that classroom with whatever your classroom size is, you've just reduced your student to teacher ratio significantly. Evidence-based practices that are at the heart of the matter, or dovetailing in with the content there. So that's gonna take small steps. So that can't just be built overnight for a whole host of reasons. There's professional development that has to be done with that. There's IEPs that have to be done with that. And then the financial commitment for that has to be there as well. So the focus is really for elementary and for middle schools to focus in on two grade levels, so that we can anticipate that for this next school year. It might be at that first and second grade, but another school might want to nuance that for a variety of reasons to do it at 5th grade or do it at 3rd grade.
So the idea is to have, to two grade levels, we're taking steps towards building the structure of inclusion and co-teaching. That's got to be our backbone of the district. Because otherwise, we're gonna have general ed and special ed.
Right.
And then we'll have a chasm-wide separation there. That chasm is, that is bridged by that co-teaching option. You can't have services in isolation and expect generalization. So that's where the strength has to go hand in hand with the development of our district programs. And so with my dipsticking and finding out where our gaps are with our district programs, that's part of the investment that we have for special education to give kids the opportunity to have a meaningful program in district, rather than rely on out of district placement where we don't have control of what happens there.
Do we have co-teaching going on now, or, because I
Yes.
thought we were doing co-teaching and looping and all that, has that gone away,
So,
or?
no, it's in pockets.
Okay,
So it's.
We're gonna
it's in-
build on
It's
that?
in pockets, and that's what we're looking to build on.
Okay.
Because we build that
Yeah.
centralized structure for that. The high school, which is amazing, that they're doing great here. It's just amazing to see that at play. I did a professional development this fall, and I got to hear feedback from both general education teachers and special education teachers. And it's running really well here, which is really strange to see because of the specialization of instruction. Usually it's, not my backyard or not my classroom, right? Because it's so specialized. It is so welcoming here in the high school. They were working so well together, and it was such a great team.
where, I thought it was at elementary school, and
So-
this could have been a lot, like 10 years ago, but I know we were,
So Veterans was a co-teaching school.
right,
And when we merged Veterans in East Gloucester,
we stopped it.
the building was built so there could be both platooning and co-teaching.
Yeah.
So that's why we have the breakout rooms in the
Yeah.
middle with the walls that can connect the two classrooms. And so it was built with co-teaching in mind, with some staffing cuts, particularly last year. It's not feasible at this time, but if we're able to start building back some staff, it is well equipped with the building itself to do co-teaching. However, we weren't able to give all the professional development and the other support to do that conversion because of funding challenges in the last couple of years. So with the support and professional development and slowly adding people back into the budget, that building in particular is well set up
Right.
to do that.
Design.
And some of its staff has done co-teaching in the past, so there's already some wealth of knowledge there to start with. So we've had co-teaching in elementary, mostly at Veterans. The intent was to have it at these Veterans, but it didn't, because of funding. And we have a version of it at the middle school, but we're gonna strengthen that. And the high school is set up, as Dr. Jarvis said, pretty well.
So incremental steps, I think. So in a budget sense, that's really what we have to do forward, not just for budget, but also just for rolling it out. Yes, exactly, right, not overwhelming the system.
Well, that's what I'm going into this budget worried, right? Because it's one thing to say, okay, we're gonna build, but I don't want to go back anymore.
Right.
Like, that's too
There's also
detrimental to
some
the
grade
student.
levels, I believe, at Beaman that have
That's true.
used
Yeah.
some co-teaching in that.
I thought we had a lot of it going on.
So we do have it in other.
It's in buckets.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so as Ben said, I'm committed to this budget, but it's important to throw the caveat in, that's based on today's assumptions. You know, because you may have been reading in the paper, the governor's budget, state 7.5% increase is assuming $10 billion of federal aid coming in. And we see, I was quoting the Times recently saying, the only thing we're certain of is uncertainty, and that's absolutely where we are. We don't know what the federal government's gonna do, especially with the desire to, get rid of the Department of Education. So that could really throw a monkey wrench into the works for us and every district across the nation. But, we're committed to it, and as long as all things remain on track like we hope they will, we're in good shape. The other thing is we still have the cushion of the $750,000 special education stabilization account that will be set up as soon as these free cash is certified, which last year's free cash was a little over 4 million. This year it's only gonna be about 2 million, but we're still putting that 750 in, which will, as we see, there's a huge fluctuation for other district tuition and transportation. And at least that'll give us a little bit of comfort going forward.
Questions? Lots of opportunity, more questions as we go along.
Yeah, just a quick comment. One, want to just say how much I appreciate the work that went into the presentation. That was a lot of work and well laid out. So just really appreciate that. One of the things that I've always appreciated about you, Ben, is not, kind of focusing on the short-term goals we can make. And I think that might not be any more important than during this budget season, like figuring out what can we do as far as targeted hires, making sure we're hiring the right people for the right positions. And focus on special ed, I think, is of the utmost importance.
Can I just, I didn't speak tonight about, there are other areas we have to improve. And one of them definitely is our hiring, recruiting, hiring, networking and other stuff. And so, and that's an area that actually all staff can help with that, in terms of like outreach and networking and making sure folks understand like this is a great place to work and Gloucester is a great community to serve. And it's easy to get to on an island. But we have to also do some really good internal work on growing our skill and our effort in terms of HR. I'm talking HR department specifically now in terms of our outreach and that sort of stuff. And so, but I want, because it is more and more difficult to hire the right people and hire great people. But I don't want that going left unsaid. There's no obvious place to put it in the budget presentation, but it certainly is a crucial piece, especially as we look to expand some sort of education positions.
Yeah. Last thing I would just add to that is that the importance of, when we try something, we talked about it a little bit, like try a model, let's see if it works, and then kind of roll it out to a bigger group, and getting feedback from the staff and really letting them say, hey, this works, this doesn't work. It's an opportunity for us to grow together, I think, and help each other. Great.
Yeah, I just want to point out that this year's budget process was more collaborative. We added Amy and Mike to our meetings, and so they added a lot of extra expertise to the process.
They were added earlier in the process. They're always part of it. It's very they're always a major part of the process, but this is much earlier. It's very helpful.
It was very helpful.
Kathy's got a question. Kath?
You're
I think you're muted again.
Sorry. I just want to follow on what you were saying though about kind of, trying things or kind of starting things smaller. I think one of the things that's not spoken but is implied is part of this is getting buy-in, right? When we're trying to change the way we do things and have more people take some ownership and accountability, they need to be able to see where the vision is, be part of that, same with any curriculum implementation, which is why we have such a collaborative process when we pick and, the staff votes on it and everything else. So unless you have enough of people buying in, and just having everybody adopt right away is very hard. So I think this approach, both financially and most importantly, pragmatically, I think is the way to get some movement and then have those people help others understand what's good and what the results can be different with a different model. So that's all I have to say. Go back on mute.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, thank you for that, Jenna Lemus, and what's that?
I was to say thank you too.
We shall move on to subcommittee reports. None at this time. Next, acceptance of grants. I'll just, there's only two of them. I'll read them and then we can vote on those.
Can I ask a question before we read the first one? It's regarding the first grant. Can you tell me what the process was for, if you know, For determining what instructional materials to buy?
Oh, yeah. There's a variety of different sources that Brandon Watson used.
Okay.
One was DESE, has a lot of guidance on this
Yeah.
for medical assisting, for any voc tech program. And then also she has collaborated with a number of different voc techs who have medical assisting. I'm not gonna tell you exactly, but I know
That's okay.
at least 2, if not 3 of them.
I was hoping she did best practice.
Yeah, which was very, very helpful. And then including just at least one, and I was here and met the woman, so sorry, I can't remember who she is, she's from, but including who visits here,
Okay.
you know, but has really done a nice job of, and then I think also, I think also some Indian folks as well, through Leahy and also through North Shore Community College too, so they've done a nice job, like, and they're good resources to access about it.
Thank you.
Great. So acceptance of grants. First one is GEF Medical Assisting Program, Instructional Materials Grant of $106,000. And the second is the FY 25 Title 2A, 140 allocation increase of $876.
I move acceptance of both grants as read.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. McKee,
Yes.
Ms. Prince,
Yes.
Mr. Melvin,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Mayor Verga,
Yes.
Mr. Minio,
Yes.
Chair Clancy.
Yes.
Great. Next item of business is the approval of the Massachusetts.
No, approve, no.
We didn't discuss this in executive session because we didn't finish last time.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So with that being said, I need to recuse myself because of my wife's a member of the MNA, so I'm gonna depart.
You don't get to leave yet, because we can do the other ones first. There's other.
Great, so I make a motion,
I'm still-
that we enter executive session pursuant to executive session purpose 3 of MGL 30A 2021A to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Gloucester, Massachusetts Nurses Association, AFSCME Clerical Unit A, and Noon Supervisors Association.
Second. And we will come out and approve the nurses.
Roll call vote.
Mr. McKee,
Yes.
Ms. Prince,
Yes.
Mr. Melvin,
Yes.
Ms. Weason.
Yes.
Mayor Verga,
Yes.
Mr. Minio,
Yes.
Chair Clancy.
Yes.
And so we're gonna go into executive session, but as Melissa just stated, we will come out to approve the MOA, the nurses MOA. Thank you, and we will be back after we come out of executive session.
We don't sign back into Zoom usually, do we?
Oh, shoot, I gotta see. So Mayor, do you want to be here for the discussion on ASME or?
You would on Zoom,
You don't need to
approve
be.
it publicly.
I mean, you want to be.
Okay,
Okay, all right. I've got, Kathy, well, I'm gonna send you and Keith a link. Okay? You can.
Great. Thank you.